Okay. All right. I think we're good. So it should switch. There you are. Okay, so am I on screen or desktop?
You're on desktop.
Okay.
So if you transition, it'll show. So right now they're looking at you. And,
Yep.
okay,
Right.
cool.
Hi, good morning. Welcome. We're also broadcasting this via the internet because there's a couple people that couldn't get here this morning. So I'm Bill Collins, the owner of the school. Started this 20 years ago, March 7th, 1998, so about 20 and a half years ago. The thing that I am most proud of with this organization is our perfect safety record. We have had 0 collisions in that 20 plus years. Collisions that meet the threshold of a DOT reportable collision. 0 insurance claims due to collisions. The only insurance claim we've had in the 20-some years was a state examiner claimed his neck hurt because the guy he was testing didn't shift very good, so his neck hurt. So he filed a work comp claim, and the state came after us for that. But that's the only claim we've had in 20 plus years. Okay? Funny thing is, now that we have cameras in the trucks, those claims have gone away. But anyway, so real proud of our perfect safety record. It's no accident. We intend to keep that going. This is a very exciting time to get in the trucking industry for a lot of reasons. It's a very exciting time for us here at Interstate Truck Driving School because of some changes that we've made this year. The huge change that we've made this year is that we're taking our customers to the state of Wisconsin for road tests now. And the reason we're doing that is to be able to get people in much quicker. I mean, like 3 times quicker than what we were doing before. And the test is much more fair in Wisconsin. So as a result, the pass rate has gone from about 50% to almost 80%. Okay? I mean, it's huge. There's a federal rule that allows this. I'll talk more about that as we go along. And this federal rule says that you are allowed to go to another state and take your test there with your home state license and permit. Now, you do have to take training from a Wisconsin school to be able to test in Wisconsin. So we have formed a Wisconsin school. It's called Apex Truck School. And you'll hear more about it as we go along. We're going to divert some of your training to that Wisconsin school. Your driving lessons will start here, but we're going to go to Wisconsin. We're going to take you to the state of Wisconsin. It's 14 miles away. Okay? So the Egan exam station is 12 miles away, and Hudson, where we'll take your test in Wisconsin, is 14 miles away. We're driving 2 more miles. Right? So we do the driving lessons in Wisconsin. Some of your training is going to be done through the Apex School to qualify you and to make it in full compliance with the rules. Thus, you'll be able to test in Wisconsin with your Minnesota license, Minnesota permit. And then the state of Minnesota is required by federal rule to accept those results and grant you your Minnesota CDL. Okay? The reason for this federal rule, it used to be, and this has been going on for many, many, many years. I mean, like 40 years. People would, and as an example, there's a school in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, diesel truck driving school in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. And Minnesota residents were driving over to Sun Prairie. It's a suburb of Madison, north of Madison. And they'd arrive there on Sunday night, check into the motel owned by the truck driving school. And Monday morning, the truck driving school people would take these Minnesota residents down to a Wisconsin DMV, and they'd transfer their license and become Wisconsin residents. And the address they were using was the motel owned by the truck driving school. And so then they'd get Wisconsin licenses, take their training. 2-3 weeks later, they'd take their test. pass their test, get a Wisconsin CDL, drive back home to Minnesota, go to a Minnesota DMV, transfer their license back into a Minnesota license. Well, the feds knew this was going on. They could see this. They could see the documentation of what was going on. And they said, that's stupid. No, that's not right. So they created a rule that said, you and I are allowed to travel to another state, take training in that state. When we do, we're allowed to test in that state. And then again, the home state is required to accept the results. And it's not optional for Minnesota. Minnesota can't say, nah, we don't like that. They're required by federal rule to accept the results. Okay? So this is making a huge difference for our customers. I have struggled immensely over the last 20 years dealing with the state of Minnesota. The Minnesota Department of Public Safety does not recognize the United States Constitution. They are an agency out of control. And don't think for a second that I'm anti-government. There are government agencies that I support 100%. One of those being the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. The people that wrote this book. These are the federal rules. These are the rules we drive trucks by. All these rules make sense. All these rules are focused on safety. There are rules in here that the person that they protect the most is the motoring public. But then the second most important person in this book is the truck driver. And they do a really good job with these rules. Again, they're very focused, they're very transparent, they're easy to understand, easy to implement. Anybody out there complaining about enforcement with trucks is just a selfish, self-centered person that wants to make more money and doesn't give a crap about operating safely. This is all about safety. It's the first thing I told you about this morning, right? Was how proud I am of my safety record. I'm very proud of what I do for a living. I love driving truck, and I'm proud to be a truck driver. And even more proud to be able to say that I've done it safely all these years. So, the feds do a great job. The state of Minnesota, though, is messed up. I mean, they are just a messed up organization. The CDL testing that they've been doing all these years, first of all, they don't use truck drivers to do the test. How would you like to be told by somebody that's never driven a truck that you don't know how to drive a truck? And that person's never driven a truck, doesn't know how to drive a truck, hasn't taken a test to drive a truck. And get this, in Minnesota, the examiners do not have CDLs. The people that test the truck drivers in Minnesota don't have truck driver's licenses. So what they're doing is illegal. They're driving down the road. Right. You can't legally drive when you only have a permit unless you have somebody sitting next to you, a shotgun that's got a commercial license of that grade. And they don't. It's illegal. So how do they get away with it? Nobody's sued them yet. That's how they get away with it. Nobody's forced them to follow the rules. Okay. So it's been very frustrating dealing with them. The state of Minnesota has a pass-fail quota system in play. They require a certain percentage of people to fail the test. What? Yeah, they require a certain percentage of people to fail a test. They want a 50-50 pass-fail rate. They arbitrarily make the test more difficult than it's supposed to be. So here's the federal standard. The feds have established the criteria for passing the test. Minnesota's up here. Why? I have no idea. They keep making the test more and more difficult to pass on purpose. And to what reason? I have no idea. Good morning. Welcome. Come on in. We're just kind of getting going here, talking about some introductory type stuff. So being able to test you in Wisconsin is to your advantage significantly. Your chances of passing are much better. I can get you in quicker. If you do fail the test, I can get you back in quicker for a retest. And, you know, that was another thing that was very frustrating in Minnesota. So a guy goes and takes a test. Let's say he fails the inspection. I wouldn't be able to get him back in for like 3 weeks. Well, what happens to your information, your knowledge about the inspection for 3 weeks? You forget unless you work at it every single day. So for 3 weeks, you got to keep working it, keep working it, keep working it. In Wisconsin, I can get you back in 2 business days. Two business days. So if you fail on Tuesday, I can get you back in on Thursday. I mean, it's a little better, isn't it? Yeah. Now, another good news about this process of taking you over to Wisconsin for the test, we did not have to increase prices because the pass rate goes up. When the pass rate goes up, that reduces the number of retests that we have to take. So that cut our cost down on that end. It is costing us a lot of money to be able to do this. It's about $150,000 a year for us to operate this Wisconsin school and the Wisconsin testing process. But again, we save on the back end because we're not doing the retest like we used to. And we can get more people through the system, so we can recover expense that way too. So this is a huge advantage, and I'll tell you this: this training that you're embarking on is proficiency based. Now, what that means is when you're ready to take a test, you're going to go take a test. Okay? You might be ready to take a test by the end of next week. It might be 2 months from now when you're ready. There's 3 things that you got to be able to do to pass this test. First of all, I should ask this. Is everybody doing Class A?
Yes.
Okay. So that means you got to be able to back up a trailer. Do any of you have previous experience backing up trailers? Okay, so you guys are going to get done quicker. For sure. Because you don't have to learn how to back up a trailer. Maybe sharpen your skills a little bit, but that's going to help you immensely in terms of how long it's going to take you to prepare for this. You have to be able to do an inspection. So that means you have to point out mechanical components on these trucks and tell the examiner what you're supposed to look for in terms of potential defects. How many of you are mechanically inclined well enough where you could change brake pads? Okay, that's going to help you guys. Okay, that gives you some mechanical aptitude that someone else might not have. All right. Now, when it comes to driving the truck safely, I can teach you to do that pretty quickly. But if you've driven a vehicle with a trailer before, that'll help. And then you have the option of doing automatic or manual transmission. Now, how many of you want to do manual transmission? Okay, so those of you that raised your hand, and I'll talk about manuals and automatics and options here as we go along. So those of you that just raised your hands, how many of you have already driven a manual transmission? Okay, so that'll make it easier for those of you that have already done that. If you haven't, it's going to take a little longer because you got to learn how to operate it proficiently. See, if you mess up, you fail the test. It's just simple. You got to be able to do these things properly, right? So what's your name?
Jake.
Jake?
Yep.
So Jake, you've backed up trailers before, you've done a manual transmission, you know how to change brake pads. Okay? You can conceivably be ready to test by the end of next week. Someone else here, it might literally be 2 months because you have to learn these skills. Okay? So this is proficiency-based training. When you are ready to test, you'll go test. There's no delay. There's no waiting for testing here. Okay? Just show us you know you're ready for the test, and you're going to go test. Now, the other part of the equation is how much time can you spend here? Are you available 7 days a week? And if you are, that's going to accelerate your learning curve. I've had people take 14 months to do this. Why? They're coming 1 day a week. Now, if a person comes 1 day a week, so they learn something on this given day, what happens in the next 6 days? They forget some of that stuff. So their learning curve is a roller coaster going up and down and up and down and up and down. And that's why it takes so bloody long for that person to achieve success. The person that could be here 7 days a week, their learning curve is going to be a steady climb. Get that? So your availability is going to have a role in this. You know, today I've got somebody watching at home because he can't be here today. That's not the best way to do it, but it helps. Okay? We are very creative when it comes to finding solutions and coming up with ways to assist people, okay? So if you have limitations as to what you can or can't do in terms of your time, let us know. We'll put our thinking caps on and try to come up with a solution for you, all right? I like to say that we think outside the box here. I'm a truck driver, okay? So I'm driving down the road. If it's raining, do I still make my delivery? Yeah. If it's snowing, maybe. Eventually, I might have to wait, okay? If the road's closed, do I still make my delivery? If I can figure out a way to do that, yeah. If the truck breaks down, do I still make my delivery? Yeah, because I'll fix the truck or get another one. Okay? So all of those things will delay my delivery, but I'm still going to make my delivery. Now, I can't guarantee that I'm going to make a delivery at 8 o'clock tonight. What I can say is I'm going to give it my best effort, and I'm going to do everything I can to make that happen. And if it doesn't, I'm not going to get upset about it, but I'm going to get it there as soon as I can. Okay? You have to understand how the transportation industry works. And one of the things about the transportation industry is that there are delays. So you need to accept that right from the get-go as you go into this. You know, as I travel around the country, I travel quite a bit. I like to do nonstop flights because I don't like to get hung up in places. And one of the things that I don't do, as an example, is I'll watch the weather like a hawk. And if there's storms or stuff coming into the airport that I'm supposed to fly into and transfer to another plane, I'm going to cancel my flight. I'm not going to get stuck in some airport all night long. I'm just not going to do that. But that happens in this industry, okay? And people that do fly, they get stuck in an airport because of a storm, and then they get all mad and upset about it. Well, what's the airline supposed to do? There's bad weather. Should they fly airplanes in the bad weather? That would be a safety issue, right? So keep that in mind as you go in. This is the transportation industry. There are several factors that affect our ability to deliver freight, and we have to accommodate those factors and adjust and deal with them best we can. Okay? All right. So how much time is it going to take for you? You've got to be flexible. Just the same way you need to be flexible in the industry, you need to be flexible here. Your availability is going to have a lot to do with how quickly we can get you through this. If English is your second language, it makes it more challenging because the inspection has to be done in English. You have to speak English on this test. So if English is your second language, that presents a challenge. It would be interesting to have somebody from Boston come here and see if they could pass a test. I can't understand the people in Boston. Their accent, I don't know what they're saying. Mississippi? Now, Mississippi, the way they talk down there with that drawl, I can't understand them either. Okay? So my point is that you have to be able to communicate with this examiner in English well enough to pass the inspection test. And we're going to help you with that too. So there are all these skills that you need to learn in order to pass the test. As soon as you demonstrate you've got a reasonable set of skills to give you a reasonable chance of passing the test, you go test. And if you fail the test, there'll be very little delay before you go back. And regardless of which program you're in, there's no charge for retests as long, there's one condition of this now. There's one condition to free retests, and that is that you follow our instructions and complete assignments. So in other words, if we tell you to do something, if we tell you go out in this truck and practice this, then you need to do that. But as long as you follow our directions and guidance, then there's no charge, and we'll take you for as many tests as the state allows with no additional charge. And I'll talk more about that as we go along here, okay? But you have to understand something. This is Interstate Truck Driving School. Now, did you come here today to learn something? Okay, then you're in the right place. Okay. Did you come here to borrow a truck? Because if the answer to that was yes, then you're in the wrong place. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? I'm not here to just give you a truck and say, go take your test. I'm here to teach you how to drive safely and pass the test. Okay? I am very committed to helping every single one of my customers. I own the place, and I'm here. And I'm usually here 7 days a week when I'm in town. I was here, well, actually, I was in the Wisconsin school yesterday. I was here on Sunday. I was here on Saturday. I worked all weekend, okay? I'm a very committed business owner. I get up early, I stay up late, okay? I work hard. And I'm simply asking my customers to do the same thing. And if you do the same thing, then we're going to get along really well, okay? All right, so let me talk about my staff here a little bit. Oh, Jason, we got to get your picture and get you into the website here. Jason is just joining us. Jason worked for, what was the name of the outfit?
LME.
LME, a logistics outfit, right?
LTL.
Oh, no, they were an LTL.
Yep.
I'm sorry, an LTL. How many years you worked for them?
18 years.
So, and with some changes with where he's living and stuff, he decided to change jobs, and he's just joined us. He goes for one of his license tests on Friday, so hopefully by next week he'll be licensed to do instruction. But that's what Jason's hanging out here today, getting ready to join the group. Pat Ackerman is my director of training. He's going to come back and talk with you all here in a little bit about how that process works. Now, remember I said that this is very much individualized training based on your proficiency. As you go through this process, you will be sitting down with Pat, and the two of you will discuss where you're at with your skill set and come up with a plan to assist you. So this is done one-on-one, sitting down in Pat's office to come up with a plan for you. Colleges, many of the state colleges have shut down their truck driving schools in the last few years. And I think the reason that that's happened is that the colleges are too rigid with how they do their training. Colleges would say everybody starts at the first of the month and everybody completes by the end of the month. And part of the problem with that is some guys didn't need that much training. And there are people that needed more training. And there were some people where it was just right. So they're only meeting the needs of 1/3 of their customers that way. And we don't do that. This is not a cookie cutter operation where all of you that start today finish on the same day. That's not the way it works. And I'll talk about the lesson plan and how we do things as we go along. But basically what it amounts to is you go for 3 days in a row and attend our first 3 days of classes. And then from there on, it's very much an open lesson plan based on your schedule that you make with Pat. Okay? So you're going to have a sit-down meeting with Pat. He'll come in and introduce himself here shortly. Okay? Josh, many of you have met Josh. He works up at the front counter, wears a lot of hats around here. He's the one that gets people signed up. He also works with the recruiters, with job opportunities for you guys. He's very instrumental in our information technology, our social media stuff, videos. He does a lot of things around here. Your main reason for contacting Josh would be for job contacts and videos that you might need. Melissa's our office manager. She's also our VA liaison for people that are using their GI Bill benefits. She's also a paralegal. Bob Christensen is actually retired. I keep him on the website, though. He's such a great guy. He was a big part of our organization for several years. He had worked for the state of Minnesota for 25 years as an examiner, then worked for us for several years. But when he turned summer this last June, he retired. and now spends more time golfing. Tim Hoskin, he's been with us 10, 12 years or so. He's a former student. Tim is the guy we usually try to have give you your last driving lesson before your road test. So he's kind of our tune-up guy. Paul Holmquist, one of our Wisconsin instructors. Paul is actually pretty busy with his other job and hasn't worked with us much lately. Mark Sanders. Mark is a former state of Minnesota examiner. He's also a former commercial vehicle inspector for the State Highway Patrol. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to the rules and regulations operating these trucks. And he's the guy, since he's a former state examiner, we like to use him as much as we can, evaluating your performance and your abilities. Now, you're going to have evaluations with Mark, so he might evaluate your ability to do an inspection, right? So he'll say, okay, show me what you know, and you show him. Now, if Mark tells you you're not ready for your test, the best answer you can give him would be, okay, what do I need to do? Now, on occasion, we have people who respond to, you're not ready for the test, and they say, yeah, I am. Okay, so if you take the test and the examiner says you failed, are you going to argue with him? Good luck. Because are you going to win that argument? Nope. Okay? Trust us, guys. Trust us. Why would we tell you to do more work? What's in it for us? There's one charge. I'll talk about the different programs as we go along. But we charge you a fee, right? We don't say, well, you need to do this, and we need to charge you for it. No. We're not charging you anything more for anything additional we're having you do. So when we ask you to do something, instruct you to do something, we're doing that for your best interest in order to help you succeed, okay? So trust us and trust what Mark's saying, okay? Bubba, Gary, Bubba is on a health leave right now. He actually works full-time for the State Commerce Department. He needs a kidney, and thus is not healthy enough to work with us at the moment. If you're type O blood, he could use a donor. Phil Campa. Phil is a former student, worked for Schneider for 3-4 years, then came back to work for us. He's now on a sort of a leave of absence because he's pursuing a career in the medical field. We're not sure if he's going to come back and work with us part-time or not. Gary Allman. Gary worked for UPS for 30 years, worked his way, started as a driver, worked his way up into management. When he retired from UPS after 30 years, he went to work for Century College as an instructor. When Century closed March of last year, then we swooped him up and he's been working with us. He only works part-time because he makes so doggone much money with his pension. He doesn't need to work full-time. Okay? So his wife kicks him out of the house 2 days a week and he works there. Sam Winger, we decided there were so many of us old farts, we needed some young blood. So Sam, former student, he works with us now. He's got a lot of patience. So we usually have him work with with your first driving lesson. And then Matt Hacker works up front helping out Josh. So he helps recruiting. He helps with placing you guys with companies that are hiring our drivers. So he's customer service is probably the best way to describe him. He's also an avid Vikings fan, so he's pretty excited for this season. He was pretty disappointed last season. So that's my staff. Now we use an electronic login process where we record your time. Okay. Anybody at home, Josh can see that people are watching, so we'll pay attention to that. You can let Josh know via email that you're watching so he can record your time, for those of you watching at home. But you guys here, we use this student ID badge, right? So you come in the morning with your ID badge and you flash the barcode underneath the laser and it logs you in. Please remember to log out at the end of the day, okay? Now, at the end of the day, we go into the system and check for anybody that's forgotten to log out. If that's the case, then we manually log them out, and we're guessing as to when they left. It'd be much better if we knew when you were coming and going. If you leave for lunch, don't bother logging out for a short period of time because the system can only handle so many transitions from one to another. So don't log out if you're just leaving for 10 or 15 minutes. Now we're tracking your time in 5 different categories. Jason, you know, these slides just walk you through everything you need to say. It's a real simple process. So classroom in here, working in the lobby, studying things out in the yard, working with the trucks, all that we call coursework. We have a textbook. And rather than use the hard copy published version, like so many other things, we've gone to an online version of the textbook, and we'll be talking about that Thursday morning. Okay. We use simulators here for a couple different activities. We have a backing range and then one-on-one instruction. So we're tracking your time in those different activities with the system, and so it would be very helpful if you're doing the best you can to log in and log out properly. Okay. No smoking in front of the building. Here's why. Somebody used the railing as an ashtray one day and dang near burnt the building down. Fire department had to come and put it out. So we built a smoking shed on the west side of the building there with a picnic table and butt cans and stuff. So that is your smoking area. Now, dress for the weather. Normally it's Tuesdays and Saturdays. This week it's Wednesday and Saturday because of the holiday yesterday. We pushed everything back a week, or a day. You're gonna go outside tomorrow for a couple of hours. I don't know what the weather is yet, but dress accordingly. If it's gonna be raining, bring rain gear. Right? It's supposed to be nice tomorrow. Well, we lucked out there. So you dress for the weather. You will be going outside. Now, when you're getting in and out of trucks, you need to be wearing footwear that's appropriate, and that means ankle support and lugged soles. Now, boots would be ideal. I can live with running shoes, tennis shoes that are running shoes type of things, not tennis shoes, because tennis shoes have too smooth of a sole. But running shoes, hiking boots, any of that's acceptable. Flip-flops and sandals are not. Okay? You're not getting in a truck with an open toe. It's got to be a closed toe shoe with some ankle support and some lugged sole to it. Slipping while getting in and out of a truck is the most frequent cause for a work comp injury in our industry. And you will fail your test if you slip while getting in and out of the truck. Okay, that's how serious this is. You can fail your road test for slipping as you get in and out of the truck. So we have something called 3 points of contact. And it's real important that you understand this and use the 3 points of contact properly. And so to that end, I want to show you a little video that fully explains 3 points of contact.
Hi, I'm Bill Collins, Interstate Truck Driving School. Today's safety tip, we're going to talk about the proper way to enter and exit a tractor trailer rig using what we call the 3 points of contact. Come on with me, let's go to the truck. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations require
Well, this isn't any good if the video won't play. Let's see if we can get this sucker to hook up again here.
Hi, I'm Bill Collins, Interstate Truck Driving School. Today's safety tip, we're going to talk about the proper way to enter and exit a tractor-trailer rig using what we call the 3 points of contact. Come on with me, let's go over to the truck. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations require provision for drivers to be able to get in and get out of trucks safely. They require handholds, they require proper steps. So understand that the federal government's looking out for you, providing you with proper safety equipment to get in and get out of these trucks. But now you got to follow the rules and get in and get out properly. Let me show you how. What we want to do as we enter our truck is we always want to maintain contact with 3 limbs. So we've got 4, 2 feet and 2 arms. So as you are entering the vehicle, notice I've got handholds here and here. I've got a handhold out here. And one up here on the inside of the door. So as I go into the truck, I grab my 2 handhelds here. Put my feet up, I come up to the second step. Now I can grab it again. And I'm in, secure, 3 points of contact. Ready to do my job. Okay, and we were showing you the proper way to get in and get out of a truck using one of our newer rigs. That's an 07 Freightliner Coronado. This is an old truck. This is a 1990 International. We still have the same handheld. Now the steering wheel becomes one of my handhelds on this truck. This one's a little steeper climb to get in and get out. It's very important in a truck like this that you're using the proper 3 points of contact. Now the wrong way to get in. First of all, don't just jump up in there without holding on properly. Like this, hold it, and you make it. You might fall out, and that's going to be the end of your work today. When it's time to get out of the truck, when you get out of the truck, it's the exact same process. Grab your handheld. My 3 points of contact. I got my handhelds. Down to the first step, down to the second step, change my handheld. 3 points of contact the entire way up. That's the correct way to get out of the truck. So again, getting out, I'm going to use my steering wheel as one of my points of contact. Okay? So here I'm safe and secure. I can make my steps down. Always maintaining 3 points of contact in an older truck. That's the way to do it, gentlemen. When you come out of the truck, take your time. This is the wrong way to get out of a truck. That's the wrong thing to do, ladies and gentlemen. Now, an important ingredient to being able to get in and get out of these trucks properly is proper footwear. Okay? First of all, no sandals, no tennis shoes, cowboy boots only if you put lug soles on them. The typical cowboy boot has a smooth leather sole, not acceptable for driving a truck. Okay? So you want to wear your cowboy boots, get them soled up with some lugs. Now, what you want is a good lug pattern on the soles of your shoes or boots to get good traction. Here's an example of some shoes that are worn out. The smooth sole like that? No, not acceptable, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Go out and spend the money to get some good footwear. Yeah, it's going to cost you a few bucks to get some good Red Wings or something from REI or something, but you want good footwear to give you good traction going in and out of these things so you don't slip and fall. Okay, one of the things that you want to consider working around trucks is be real aware of potential spills on the ground with oil and diesel fuel. You walk through this oil, now the soles of your shoes or boots are slippery. That's going to increase the likelihood of a slip or a fall. Whenever you go fuel a truck, be careful. If you spill any diesel on the ground, diesel fuel is very slippery. It's got a lot of oil content to it. That's a part of the lubrication qualities of diesel fuel necessary to run a diesel motor properly. So diesel on the ground is going to be real slippery. So be careful if you spill anything. And anytime you go into a truck stop, Don't be surprised if the previous driver spilled some diesel, making the ground very slippery. Again, you get that on your boot, and then when you go to climb in and out of your truck, you slip and fall and hurt yourself, and now you're out of work. So be real careful around fuel stops. Along with good footwear, your outerwear is important. Good gloves, okay? I've always got a couple pair of gloves, one regular work gloves. I got another pair of gloves just for fueling, so I don't get diesel fuel on my gloves and put them in my jacket. Keep your jacket buttoned up or zipped up. Don't let it go flying in the breeze and let it get caught on things. Wintertime up here in Minnesota, I've always got a hood with me. Proper gear, proper footwear and outerwear, that's important to doing the job safely too. Okay, well, I hope you've gathered some important information with our little introduction to 3 points of contact.
Well, sorry that was so sketchy there. But this 3 points of contact is really important. And take seriously what I was telling you about diesel fuel too. I mean, that stuff is slippery. You pull into to get fuel at a truck stop and you get out, bam, on your back. So be careful of that stuff. All right. Restrooms are behind this room down the long hall. Men's room is down the hall to the right. This door over here to my right, your left is emergency exit only. No alarm will go off, but you won't be able to get back in. Okay. Feel free to have lunch, snacks, coffee, etc. in this room. All I ask is that you pick up after yourself. We'll even have lunch served in here on occasion. Feel free to charge your phone, laptop, tablet, whatever you want. The outlets underneath your counter there do work. And instead of using hardwired internet, we've got Wi-Fi available. It's in this room, so it's strongest in this room. The password is ITDS. That's Interstate Truck Driving School. 1998, that's when we started. So feel free to use the Wi-Fi. If you need an outside phone, there's a phone on a little desk out by the front door. So feel free to use that whenever you need to. We share the parking lot with Midwest Fence. You'll see signs out there that delineate our side, which is the west side, and the Midwest Fence side. Please park on our side of the parking lot. If our side of the parking lot is filled up, please park on the street. Don't block the driveway. It's hard to get in and out of the driveway when with the big trucks. When cars are parked close to the driveway, it'd also be helpful if you don't park on the other side of the street. Now, we have companies coming here looking to hire you all. How many of you already have a job that you're working for somebody that you'll be driving for when you're done? Okay? Well, then you don't need a new job, right? So you don't really need to attend those then if you already got a job. Is your employer sending you here, or are you paying for it yourself, or what?
No, workforce center, but I have a guaranteed job.
Okay. Okay, so if the workforce center is paying for it, then I'd come to the recruiter visits just to learn something.
Yep.
Okay. So we have a wide variety of companies that come here, and I'll talk more about that as we go along. Okay. But those visits are voluntary, and sometimes they'll bring in lunch. Schneider's going to be here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. They bring in some really good donuts. So if you're looking for a sugar high tomorrow at 10 o'clock, be here. All right. Let me introduce Pat Ackerman. Again, Pat is our director of training. Anything you do with a steering wheel goes through him. His job is to figure out how to assist you to be successful in this industry, with the first thing being being able to pass your road test. Okay. So you're going to have sit-down meetings with Pat to figure that out. These are exchanges where he goes through an exploratory process to figure out where you're at, to figure out how to assist you. Okay. So, Pat, we're also live streaming.
Okay.
So do you want me to put the desktop up so they can see that instead of you?
Yeah.
All right, so the desktop is up. So.
Break after.
Yep. So
The camera.
Yeah, don't worry about the camera, it's just the desktop.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, on desktop, so I don't have to worry about it. Sweet. So good morning.
Good morning.
So as Bill mentioned, I'm the one that takes care of the scheduling process for the training. A couple things need to happen in order for us to put together schedules for you. First thing that needs to happen is everybody that signs up, before they can actually do any training, they have to take and pass a drug screen. The DOT physical does not count as the drug screen. It's a separate drug screen that has to be taken. We do it here at the school. So that has to be done. If people drugs, now being that this is a short week and we're starting on Tuesday, so those of you that signed up today, I highly recommend you get it done today. Because if you don't get it done today, I probably won't have the results back by Friday. So get it done today so I have them back this week.
You have to up front in customer service.
Yeah, they do up front. But I noticed here you with the are you only paid $500 towards the class? I think.
No, I'm paying that.
Oh, okay. The full amount. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you just let them know at the front counter,
Okay.
and then they'll be able to take care of that. So we want to try and get that done today. If we don't do it today, we won't be talking this week at all about scheduling. Secondly, once I get those drug screen results back, then I'm going to want to talk to each and every single person here. Now, if you do it today, I should hopefully get them back by Thursday, and you'll still be here for classes on Thursday, so we can sit down on Thursday. I'll come pull you out of class, and we'll figure it out. If you don't get it done today, or I don't get the results back by Thursday, I want to talk to you on Friday if they're back by then, and then I'll just contact you. If you're not here, I'll give you a call. So make sure that we have your correct phone number so I can call you. And if you have a voicemail, make sure it's set up. So many times I call people and their voicemail is not set up, so I can't leave you a message, or your voicemail is full. Please check your voicemails if they're in an empty amount. Every week, I at least have 2 or 3 people that I call. Voicemail's either not set up or it's full and I can't leave a message. So I don't keep calling. If it's full or it's not set up, I call them once and that's it. Then it's up to you to come find me. I don't chase people around. If you do need to see me, let them know at the front counter. I usually have a running list, and they put people's name on that list. And then what happens is I'll come grab people out of the lobby. If you wander off from the lobby and aren't there, I'm not going to come look for you. If you're out in the trucks or outside having a cigarette, I'm not going to come looking for you. Come out, call your name. If you're not there, I go to the next person on the list. So if you do need to see me, please don't take off. I'm not going to look for you. I'm not going to search the property for you everywhere. So if you get your name on the list, stay in the lobby so it's easier for me to find you. Now, when I come looking for you to set down a schedule, one of the things I'm going to be asking you is, do you have your permit? I need to have a permit in order to do training. So those of you that don't have permits, your first priority is to study for getting the permit. Who here still needs to get their permit? So just a couple of you. So Bill's going to be talking about that a little bit later, about the different options and what we need to get your permits. Now, once I have your drug screen results back and you have a permit and we go to put together a schedule, your schedule will be done in writing. I will not verbally do schedules. No schedules will be made verbally over the phone. So if you need to get a hold of me, calling is not the way to do it. You'll most likely just get a voicemail, and then I'll call you back and tell you when can you come in. So you need to be here to schedule. I don't make schedules over the phone. Does everybody understand that? No schedules over the phone. It's all going to be done in writing. In the trucking industry, everything's documented one way or another. Get used to it. Whether it's a paper, if you got a company that's still doing paper bill of ladings, or it's done digitally, everything is done. Morning. Everything is done. We have some sort of documentation. Get used to it. We just still do it with paper because we're not going to sign you up all for digital accounts to send stuff to. So everything will be done on paper. You're going to sign off on it. I'm going to put a copy of it in your file so that if you lose it, we could dig it out. All scheduling is done on in person on paper. When you get your schedule, I need 1 business day notice if you can't make it, or more would be great. If you can't give us a full business day notice, that's fine. Just give us advance notice. Now, when it comes to driving lessons, though, I do need 1 full business day notice. I have to have time to try and find somebody else to put into that spot. When it comes to simulators or backing practice on the range, just give us advance notice. Like a guy called this morning, he canceled an appointment for 10 o'clock today. That's fine. I can work with that. Just give us advance notice. But when it comes to driving lessons, I need a full business day notice. Give me as much notice as you can. So understand, though, if you give us notice and we need to reschedule, just because you gave us notice, that's great. We appreciate it. But that doesn't mean you're getting rescheduled at the earliest convenient time that you like. It's the earliest convenient time that we have. So if you cancel something, especially at the last minute, that doesn't mean I'm going to be able to give you a spot right away. I've had people call me up, hey, I got an appointment today at 8. Can I come in today at 10 instead? It doesn't work that way. 10 o'clock's already full. You'll get the earliest spot that we have available, not necessarily one that you want. It's what we have. So remember that, especially if you're canceling with short notice. When we do scheduling, I'm here Monday through Friday. I'm not here on the weekends. So please don't come in here on Saturday looking for me. I get here relatively early, 6:30, 7 o'clock, usually in the morning. So I'm out of here by 4. Sometimes I'll stay later. If you're coming to look for me, don't just, especially if you're coming from a distance, don't show up here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If I'm walking out the door and I got another appointment to be somewhere, I'm going. I can't always stay late. So make sure if it's going to be later in the day, set it up in advance. Don't just show up. I had a guy show up last Friday, the Friday before a holiday weekend. On Fridays, we're usually out of here at 3:30 in the afternoon. He shows up at 3:40 and demands that I help him out. I'm walking out the door, getting in my car, and I'm leaving. So he wasn't happy. He does it all the time. If you're coming later in the day, let me know in advance so I can set it up so I make sure that I'm here and available for you. So, also when you come to do training, make sure you remember to bring your driver's license and your permit with you. This is extremely, extremely important. If you don't show up with your driver's license, you can't drive, or your permit, you can't drive. If you show up here without your driver's license, technically you drove your car here illegally. You got to have your driver's license and your permit in your possession if you want to drive our trucks. Now, if you show up for an appointment, you get a 2-hour one-on-one appointment with an instructor, and you show up without your driver's license and permit, we will not cancel and reschedule because you forgot your paperwork. You're stuck in our parking lot, and we're going to do 100% of your training here on the property. We can't leave and go on the road, but we're not going to cancel the appointment. You're just losing out on driving on the road. He's going to practice backing. He's going to practice pre-trip with you. They're going to go over different things here inside the yard. But if you forget your permit, we can't go driving. So make sure you remember to bring your permit and your driver's license with you when you show up for all your appointments. And that's extremely, extremely, extremely important. Now, when I go to put together these schedules, and one of the things I'm going to ask you is what kind of availability do you have? The more a person's available, the more practice we can potentially get scheduled for you. The less you're available, the less we're going to be able to schedule for you. We're very flexible here. However, it's still got to be reasonable. I've had a student a couple weeks ago. I was trying to put together a schedule, and he came and sat down in my office. I said, what's your availability? And he goes, 8 o'clock. And I'm like, well, when's the earliest you can get here? And he goes, 8 o'clock. I go, what's the latest you can stay? 10:30. So he signed up for a 200-hour program, never has driven a manual transmission, never has backed a trailer. He's available 2.5 hours a day. Oh, yeah, 4 days a week. So he's available 10 hours a week. Do the math. Even if I had stuff available in those time frames, 10 hours a week, how many weeks is it going to take to do a 200-hour program? 20 weeks. It's a long time. So you need to think about what your availability is. Now, in his case, I don't see, the thing is in the mornings, our stuff gets busy quickly. That's what everybody wants. They all want to come in a little late, get here at 8, 9 in the morning. 8 o'clock's late for us. We get some of these instructors start at 6 in the morning. So they want to come in late and then they go home early by noon or 1. We'll work with that, but it will take you. I'm not going to say can take you. I will say it will take you longer than everybody else. You're not going to get through here in a hurry if you're only available 3-4 hours a day. Like tonight, we have somebody here till 8 o'clock at night. So we have availability for people to do things, but you have to be available. So the more you're available, the more practice we can give you, so therefore the quicker we can potentially get you through the program. Everything when we go to schedule this, it's not by a set amount of hours, it's by skill. We start people out with backing. You don't go driving the trucks until you can somewhat back them up. We don't go driving the trucks until you know the pre-trip inspection. If you can't do the pre-trip inspection, we don't even go driving. So that's stuff that we're going to be talking about this week in class. Tomorrow, the main thing is going to be focuses on the pre-trip. But you have to know certain things before we even worry about driving. So everybody always gets in a hurry to go driving. Driving is the last thing we do. And quite frankly, driving is the easiest part about this whole process. You all drove here today, right? You know how to drive. We're going to help you with the other skills first. We'll worry about driving a little bit later. Let's worry about backing and pre-trip. And that's the important part first. Once you're good at those, driving becomes real, real easy. So we have a good program here. It helps people get through this, but we need you to trust us. So hopefully, if you get the drug screens done today, I will be coming Thursday in class looking for you to talk about scheduling. Possibly Friday, being that it is a holiday week and a lot of places were closed yesterday. I don't know how busy the lab's going to be once we get them sent off the results. So should be Thursday, usually is, but it could be Friday. I'll be trying to contact you to get together schedules. If you don't have your permit, focus hard on getting the permit so we can get that as soon as possible so we can make it a little easier to get things scheduled. And then we'll go from there. Anybody have any questions? All right, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then Bill's going to come on back in here. Yes, sir, you had a question?
Okay, so we have 35, the videos that we watch.
Okay.
35 chapter or something like that.
So you've been here. This isn't your first week.
No, no.
Okay.
This is it.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you, there's also a quiz after the.
Yes, you have to take the quizzes and pass them.
Okay, so you have to do both.
Yes.
The video and the quiz.
Correct.
If you do one of them.
You have to do all of it, 100% complete. Yep.
When do we get sent for that?
Bill will be doing that throughout these first 3 days of class. See, that stuff he got last week because he was here last week. So you'll have that by the end of
Well,
the
I
week.
wasn't here last week, but I kind of know about it. My brother's been through this.
Oh, okay.
Told me all about that.
So yeah, Bill gets that set up here in the first week. So by the end of the first week, you'll have everything you need to get rolling through things. All right, if no other questions, we're going to take a 10-minute break and then come on back and Bill will get you.
Hey Carol, I had reserved a spot from the 8th to the 20th, I think. And I just called to say I was going to cancel it. Sure, no problem. Correct. Yes, please. And I apologize. The schooling, I'm going to the Interstate Truck Driving School, and it only took me 50 minutes to get here this morning, so I think I'll just drive home. It was. Oh, that's right, Ann. It was my wife's day. That's right. Yes. Correct. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Bye. So you can just go to any EMV and get a permit.
That would be,
You can,
yeah, you can't go to any, the one I know has food testing, when they said was the testing, so. Some smaller towns, like, like Sunset Fall, they don't have the testing.
wonder if Elk River does.
They just have to give them a call. They'll tell you a number and then you'll set it, like, and then they'll actually read the question to you, read the answers to you, and then make your decision.
How many questions?
Knowledge one is 40. Your breaks is 25. Combination is 10. Could be the second round.
Oh, really?
If you get the first two free, then it's $10 if you got that.
Jason, just grab your stuff.
You already paid the road for that. Yeah, you already paid. But it's different if you want to go right now. Yeah, you can go. Yeah. I will ask you for it. Yeah, of course you said. Okay.
Testing cruises are optional, except when you drive a bus from the city, so is that test or?
No, it's not.
All right, any questions?
Yes, I have a question for the, yeah, I just asked them that, but I still have this question for the videos.
Okay.
Are those the right ones for the videos that we,
Yeah.
watching for this?
Mhm.
Okay, that's the right ones.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
They don't have number 1 and 2, I think it's 4 and 5.
Those are the right videos.
Okay.
Yep.
Make sure you're in Oh, yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. We have chance. So, which one?
All right, so get this, guys. There's 1.2 million trucking companies in the United States. That means you got 1.2 million job opportunities because every single one of them are hiring. Okay. You couldn't have picked a better time to get in the trucking industry with what's going on here. There are several things that have brought us to where we are today in terms of this driver shortage. The most recent thing that's had a significant effect is the DOT physical process. It used to be that all we had to do was carry a DOT card in our wallet. Okay? So you'd go out, get yourself physical, get a card, put it in your wallet, now you're good, right? Well, that changed. And the reason it changed was the truck stops were selling blank ones for $4. How hard was it to have a DOT physical card in your wallet? $4 and a friend with a lousy penmanship, and now you got a card, right? So what was happening is that there was fraud occurring in the industry, where people were running around claiming they had taken a physical, had a piece of paper that said they took a physical, but they didn't take a physical. Well, the feds figured that out, and about 3 years ago, they implemented a new process where now you have to go to a provider that's registered with the feds. So you can't just go to anybody anymore and have anybody sign this thing. Now you've got to go to a registered provider with the feds. So as an example, the feds have a website that you can go to find someone in your area that does this, and you have to go to one of these people. You can't go to your own doctor, okay? So if I do a search on our zip code here, you'll see the first one that comes up is Dr. Gina. She's a chiropractor here in South St. Paul. And then Dr. Dan comes here on Mondays, right? So you have to go to a medical person that's registered with the feds, certified by them, take a physical from them, then they put that information into a federal database. And then you and I, after we pass that physical, then what we have to do is we have to give a copy of that to the state of Minnesota, and they put that on our driving record. So as an example, here's my driving record. So I have a Class A license. My Class D is valid. My commercial is valid. Now here are my endorsements: motorcycle, double, triple tanker, and passenger. I have no restrictions. And then here's the medical. I am non-exempt interstate, and my medical status is certified. And my medical expires 6/5 of 19. Now, once you're in the system, then you no longer have to carry the card in your wallet. In fact, the card in your wallet does you no good if you're not in the system. Okay? So you have to show the card to the state of Minnesota. If you don't, your CDL is not valid. If you don't have a certified medical on file with the state that's current, your CDL is not valid. Okay? Well, when they went to this system, then what happened was there was a whole bunch of people that couldn't pass a DOT physical anymore. And as a result, that's created more of a demand for drivers, because there was all these people that couldn't pass physicals that used to be able to drive because they were faking it, right? So that's one of the things that's affected our industry. Now, the truckload for hire carriers, trailer load, those are the guys that have been hiring drivers out of school forever. For as long as I've been in the business, the trailer load carriers have been hiring drivers out of truck driving school, all right? The local people didn't used to, other parts of our industry didn't used to. Well, that's changed now. There are a wide variety of companies in our industry that are hiring drivers out of school. Now, the trailer load carriers typically pay by the mile. Less than trailer load, that's outfits like Yellow Freight, XPO, Old Dominion. Those are LTL, less than trailer load carriers. And they run local hubs. They run freight lanes between their hubs. They run local pickup and delivery. They have what's called cross docks. Cross dock means a trailer comes in on one side, whatever's on it goes into a trailer on the other side of the dock going to someplace. They don't warehouse stuff. So they call those cross docks. Now these guys are hiring drivers out of school. They didn't used to, but they are now. And these guys pay by the mile. Excuse me. These guys pay by the hour. These guys, the trailer load guys, pay by the mile. These guys pay by the hour. Logistics companies, those are companies that will contract to deliver somebody's freight. One of the companies that comes in here that is logistics is DLI. They deliver auto parts, amongst other things. They deliver auto parts to auto dealerships out of Hudson. And they hire our students. They'll pay by the load or by the night, by the route. So there's a variety of ways to get paid in this industry. Some of the private carriers will pay a salary, but private carriers don't hire drivers out of truck driving school. And the reason they don't is that they're too small and their insurance companies won't let them do that. So you need a couple years experience to go to work for a private carrier. They do pay usually better than the for hire carriers do, but you need 2 years experience to do that. Another option for you is become an owner operator. Now, you can't become a true owner operator without 2 years experience. You need at least 2 years experience before an insurance company will insure you and a finance company will finance a truck for you. Now, you can do what's called a lease purchase with a carrier. And guys, I would not do that. The companies that are doing lease purchase with drivers out of school are taking advantage of their naivety. You don't know what you're getting yourself into if you do this, all right? Now, think about this. If you did a lease purchase, that means you get the truck from, let's call him Clyde, okay? So you lease a truck from Clyde, so now you owe Clyde a monthly lease payment, don't you? And insurance. So now you owe Clyde so much money a month. Let's say $1,000, all right? Now, where do you get your work from? Clyde. Clyde's got you over a barrel, people. The only place you can work is for Clyde, and you owe him $1,000 a month. And they have been known to take advantage of people and pay people dirt. They don't pay you enough. They got you in the crosshairs. There's nothing what are you gonna do about it? So if Clyde says, "Yeah, I got this run and only pays so much," what are you gonna say? Oh, I don't want that. Well, then what's Clyde gonna say? Okay, well then sit at home. Do nothing then. What are you gonna do? You owe him $1,000 a month for the truck and the insurance, and he's the only place you can get work. You can't go someplace else and work. It's not allowed. Your authority is with him, nobody else. And he's got a lease that says you can't work for anybody else. Don't do that, okay? Now, if you're an owner-operator, that means you can, a true owner-operator, that means you can work for anybody. So that means you can call up Clyde and you got any work today? Yeah, here's what it pays. I don't want that. See ya. Then you call up the next guy. Hey, Bob, what do you got? And the way things are going with the industry now, right? The technology is all changing, right? This is how we get loads now. When you're a true owner operator, this is what you'll be able to do. You'll be able to go into an app and find loads. So I use an app called Truckloads. There's a lot of them out there. But let's say we're looking for a load with a refrigerated trailer. The app knows where I am. Okay. So it's going to look for loads in this area. Now, there is a 12,000 pound load going from Ramsey, Minnesota to Culpeper, Virginia. That's 1,154 miles. Pays 4,500 bucks. I don't know if you know much about the cost of doing trucks, but if you're getting $2 a mile, you're doing okay. This is about $3 a mile. There's a load going from St. Cloud, Minnesota to Detroit, Michigan. 759 miles, pays 1,700 bucks.
That's all money to you?
If you're a true owner operator, yes. But now you pay all the costs. Okay, pay for the truck, the insurance, the fuel, everything, everything. Maintenance, repairs, everything.
He said Detroit.
Yeah. Yep. To Detroit, pays 1,700 bucks. So
that may be a 600-700. It's gonna be a gas for the truck.
well, first of all, it's fuel, not gas. Okay,
Yeah.
fuel. Okay. Well, it depends upon how new a truck you have, what kind of mileage you get. You know, if you get 7 miles a gallon, that means you're going to burn 100 gallons, and it's what, $3.50 a gallon now? So 350 bucks in fuel to go to Detroit. That one to Virginia, you'll burn 600 bucks in fuel. I get paid $4,500. That load going to Virginia is a good load.
That's a good
I was thinking.
That is a good load. If we look for a drive-in, here's a load going, well, that's not very close. Bunch of short stuff, nothing really long there. Let's look for a flatbed load. Okay, here's one going from Superior, Wisconsin to Lingle, Wyoming, I'm sorry. That's 960 miles, pays 2,800 bucks. That's a good load. 47,000 pounds. So you got to drive up to Superior, Wisconsin. That's 156 miles. And then it's a 960 mile run and pays 2,800 bucks. So it'll take you 2 days to do that. So, you know, that's 1,400 bucks a day. That's not bad, okay? But what I'm saying is this is where the technology is going. This is how we're getting loads now, is with our phones, not through a traditional broker. And you know, that load that goes out east that pays 4,500 bucks, that's really good pay, but there might not be any freight coming out of there. So you may not make much money on whatever you get out of there. And that's part of what happens here in this industry is the load going this way pays really well, but the load going this way doesn't pay for squat. And so you want to learn all of that before you jump into this anyway, right? And that's why you need 2 years experience before you can consider this. In the meantime, in those 2 years, I'm suggesting you don't do a lease purchase with a carrier. They will lie to you as to how much money you're going to make. Don't buy your own truck in the first couple of years. Right? Don't do it. They'll tell you this, but that's not how it's going to work out. Right? Get a couple years experience, and then you're going to know enough and have the ability to buy insurance and get financed at a decent enough rate to be able to make this thing work. And then with the technology, you'll be able to contract directly with the shippers rather than going through a broker and end up getting more money out of the deal. So again, it's a really, really exciting time for the people getting into the trucking industry. Don't worry about autonomous trucks. That's not going to be an issue. That's not going to take our jobs away. Now, as you go through the training, don't hesitate to ask questions. I think it's real important that you feel comfortable asking questions here as we go along. I can close this part.
What is your certification where you have your non-exempt? What would be one of the or a couple of the reasons why you could not pass your DOT?
Okay, so the things that would cause you to not pass a DOT would include vision. You have to be able to see 20/40 in both eyes to pass a federal. 20/40 in one eye to pass a state. So do you have your permit? Okay. When you get your permit, you have to fill out a form called a CDL medical self-certification form.
I've had my DOT card before. I just got done working for Metro Transit as a supervisor for light rail, and I had my DOT card for 10 years.
Okay.
But it just expired, and I didn't have any issues with that getting the DOT card. But now I have sleep apnea.
Okay.
Is that gonna?
Well, you'll have to get it treated.
Yeah, I have the machine.
Okay. And then they'll put you on a 1-year physical.
So I'll only get a 1 year instead of 2.
So I also have that one, the Metro Transit, DOT.
Yep.
So is that a kind of local thing or international? Is that work or do I need another one?
He wants to know if it's good for federal or not.
Well, so you already have a DOT physical.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I thought that, that says, that's only work for a local, not national, state.
Do you have it with?
Yeah.
Can I look at it?
I have one or two. Do I have to have another one? Or?
Well, I don't know which one you have. I'd have to look.
They're the blue ones.
Mine expiring next year.
I have to get my glasses and close this up. I can't read these things. Let's see. This is the federal one for sure, I think.
Yeah.
But I can't read these things. The typing's too small. I can't read it. I have to blow them up. I don't know. I can't read it.
So, well,
I can't. I'll have. What I can do is I can. When we take a break,
yeah.
I can go to the copy machine. I can blow it up so I can read the thing. Okay. Cool. So I can check it out for you, but I can't read it right now. I'll tell you. Cause see, they have 4 different categories of physicals: exempt or non-exempt, and then interstate or intrastate. And what you need to drive trucks across state lines, you need interstate physical. So you gotta be able to see 24 in both eyes. They're gonna check your blood pressure, hearing, and there are waivers for things depending upon what it is. Some you can get waivers for the federal, some you can't. You can get them on the state side. So as an example, it's pretty easy to get a waiver for a deaf person on the state side of it. There is a process to get a waiver on the federal side, but it's much more difficult. It takes a lot more time. And what's frustrating for the guys that are there are deaf people out there driving trucks. But the way the process works, when their medical expires, they have to renew the application, and it can take 8 months for the application to go through. And so now they're not driving for 8 months, waiting on the waiver to go through. So It's not a smooth road for those guys. Now, in order for you to take your test in Wisconsin, you do need a DOT physical. So keep that in mind as you go along, is that you will need a physical if you don't have one already.
And then the people that are here on the 200, 160 hour, we get a physical by this Dr. Dan.
Right. Yep. And he comes in on Mondays. And so if you want, you can go to our website and make an appointment for next Monday. Just go to our website, interstatedriving.com. Click on resources. The third one down, schedule your DOT physical. Just click on that. Internet's pretty slow today.
Raining outside.
And anyway, eventually this will come up, and you can schedule your appointment here next Monday with him. Okay? Get that all set up. And again, if you're doing the 160 or 200 hour program, we pick up the cost. If you're doing a shorter program than that, you would pick up the cost, and it's $45. He normally charges 60, but he charges our students 45. So he's got 3 spots left next Monday afternoon.
That's the money. I need one of those.
Okay, so go online and schedule it.
Oh, the online.
Yep. Go to our website, interstatedriving.com. Go to resources and schedule your DOT physical and schedule it. Okay?
Question, how can I know if my DOT is okay or not? Or I have to do it again?
Okay, when we take a break, I'll take your card,
Okay,
put it on the copier, and I'll blow it up so I can read it.
okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
How long do the DOT thing last for?
Well, up to 2 years maximum. Maybe less than that if you have some physical issues going on.
So every 2 years you got to go get a new DOT thing?
Right. Yep. And maybe more often than that, depending upon what's going on with you physically. Okay. So there are situations that require you to get a physical more often than every 2 years. But two years would be the maximum that it's good for. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about how this training works in a little more detail. So what we want you to do to start with is come to class the first 3 days. Now normally that's on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This week with the holiday, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's it. Okay? Now, after those first 3 days, there are things for you to do here 7 days a week. You'll learn what those things are after the first 3 days. So the first 3 days are very structured, 8 to 4. And then after the 4th day on, you show up when you're available to show up, and you'll have things to do. As to what they are, you don't know yet because we haven't been able to provide you the information for the first 3 days yet. Okay? So by the end of the 3rd day, excuse me, you're going to have all this stuff to do, and you're going to have all these materials to use and resources to use. All right? So what we do today, and the first day of orientation, normally the doctor comes in at 1 o'clock on Mondays to do physicals, so we don't have to worry about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk until about noon, then we're going to break for lunch today from noon until 1, and then at 1 o'clock we'll come back in, and we'll probably be able to get done a little bit early today because the doctor isn't here doing physicals the way it normally happens on Mondays. Tomorrow we start again at 8 o'clock, and we go to about 4. And what the subject for tomorrow is all about preparing you for the inspection part of your road test. On your 3rd day, which is going to be Thursday this week, at 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, I'm going to be introducing you to this textbook system that we use. And we're going to be doing that all morning, working on the textbook. And then at 1 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, we have a class to present to you the driving portion of the road test, what you need to do, okay? You need to come to all of those classes. Now, just as an example, I had a driving lesson with a guy yesterday who's taking his test in about 20 minutes here. And we go to make a right-hand turn, and he hit the curb with the trailer. And not once, but twice. And I took some time to make it very clear to him, you can't do that. Now, what was a little frustrating to me was he had already had a driving lesson or two. He should have gone to this class. And I'm telling him to do something, and he doesn't understand what I'm telling him to do. What? How do I do this? Well, dude, we explained it in the class. Okay? It's really important you get to these classes, pay attention to what we're providing you with information, so that you can go out there and drive the truck properly to pass this test. Okay? So that's the first 3 days. After that, spend as much time here as you can. If you want to get done quickly, then be here 7 days a week. Our business hours are 7 in the morning till 7 in the evening, Monday through Thursday. Friday, 7 to 3:30. Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 3. Okay? So I should really do that. I should really put, I've got that someplace. I don't remember where the hours are here. There we go. So the campus hours, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 7. Fridays, 7 to 3. Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 3. Closed on holidays. So the office was closed over the weekend here, right? How much time can you be here? And the more time you're going to be here, the more frequently you can be here, the quicker you're going to learn what you need to learn to pass this test. Now, everything we do involves evaluations throughout to figure out where you guys are at so that we know when you're ready to take your test. Those evaluations help us direct you to the things that you need to work on in order to pass the test. Okay? You'll take your test as soon as you're ready. All right? As soon as you're ready to test, you'll take your test. Does anybody not have the permit yet? Okay. You got to get the permit. And keep in mind there's a 14-day delay between when you get the permit and when you're allowed to test. Okay? Do you have a manual to study? Okay. We've got those at the front counter. Ask the guys up there for that. All right?
A lot of stuff online too, though, right?
Yep. Yep. But we've got it in print for you up at the front counter if you want. There's a handout there that'll explain the testing process. Get that as soon as you can, because that's delaying you getting through here. So it sounds like you got, some of the other stuff covered, but that's going to delay when you test. So if you don't get your permit for 2 weeks, that means you're not testing for 4 weeks from now. So if you get your permit in a week, then we're going to be looking at 3 weeks. If you get it this week, then we're going to be looking at 2.5 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So there's a 14-day wait from the day you get your permit to when we can take your test. Right? Now, we had a gentleman this winter that came through class in January. This guy's name is Ray DeWitt. And Ray is autistic. He passed his first inspection. Ray was here 7 days a week in the middle of January. Now remember I told you earlier you're going to be going outside? He was outside every single day practicing his inspection in the middle of winter in January when it was bitter cold here. And he passed his first inspection. He's autistic, which means his learning style is different than most of us. Now, if Ray DeWitt can pass his first inspection, can you pass yours? I didn't hear you. If Ray DeWitt can pass his first inspection test, can you pass your first inspection test?
Yes.
Okay. But let's understand what Ray did. He was here every single day. He practiced, practiced, practiced. And he used the resources that we give. And I'll be introducing those to you in great detail tomorrow, those resources. All right? Now, Ray failed 3 road tests. It took him 4 road tests to pass. And the reason that Ray was having trouble passing the test, the way his mind worked, he was constantly asking us if what he was doing was okay. And that caused a distraction while he was driving. When every day that Ray walked in that front door, the first one of us he'd say, "Am I here on time? Am I late?" And so that was his personality, or is his personality. And so what was happening when he was driving was, the examiner would say, "Okay, let's take a right turn up at the next street." "Okay, I got my signal on. Is that too early?" And he shouldn't be doing that, see? "Okay, is my speed okay?" And that's not what you should be doing during the test. You should be focusing on doing it to the best of your ability and not asking the examiner questions, because he's not going to answer you. "Okay, I didn't hit the curb, did I? Did I hit the curb? I didn't hit the curb, did I?" Is what Ray would do. And because of that personality trait, he was having difficulty concentrating on task at hand, and that's why he had trouble passing the test. Pat and I both worked with him, and we convinced him, "Ray, you got to shut up while you're driving. You got to shut up. Just listen, no talking. Just listening, no talking during your test." And he passed his 4th test. Now, there was no charge for those additional tests. We didn't even think about charging him any more money. Why? Because Ray worked so hard. And he followed our instructions and did everything we asked him to do. Okay? Now, I'm telling you, there are people that don't follow our instructions, and I got a hard time with those people. We had a gentleman that had failed 2 tests here a while back, and I was here on a Saturday, and he was supposed to be here practicing his backing on the backing range, and he wasn't here, and he was testing that next Thursday. So I called him up and I said, "Where are you at?" "Oh, I'm in the park with my granddaughter. I'm babysitting today." And I was not happy with him. And I told him, I said, "This is not good. You're supposed to be here backing, you're practicing your backing." "Oh, well, I couldn't. "Well, why didn't you call and reschedule?" "Oh, I didn't." He's got all these excuses. And so I told him, "Look, you better pass this next test, because if you don't, any additional test is $600. "Ooh, yeah, $600, dude. You better pass this thing." Well, the good news is he did. Okay? But let's understand something. If you work hard, I will work hard for you. If you think you can be lazy, I'm going to get lazy. Fair? When you go take the test, I'm paying for the examiner. I'm paying the instructor to bring you the truck. I'm paying for the truck. I'm paying for the fuel in the truck. I'm paying to maintain the truck. I'm paying for the insurance for the truck. I'm paying all of that. Okay? And all I ask in return is that you follow our instructions, show up for your appointments. Now, Pat was in here talking to you last hour. What did he tell you to do if you can't make an appointment? Call us. Even if it's the last minute. Now, let's be clear about something here, okay? This is the trucking industry. You've got to be able to communicate with the people you work with. And so that's what made me so upset about this guy sitting in a park babysitting his granddaughter. He didn't call us. Now, for the sake of discussion, let's say you got an appointment with one of us and your car breaks down on the way. Call us. I'm on the way, but my car broke down. I'm stuck. Well, what do you suppose I'm going to say? What else might I say?
Thanks for calling.
To reschedule for another day.
What else might I say? You're broke down, and you got an appointment with an instructor in 45 minutes.
Where you at?
Where you at? And then what might I say?
Go get you.
I'm gonna come and get you. Get that? We're truck drivers here. We figure out solutions. Now, honest to God, I've had people call me up and say, yeah, I got a flat tire, can't make it. Where are you at? Well, I'm at home. All right, I'll come and get you. Oh, see, he's trying to weasel out of the deal. He ain't got a flat tire. He's giving me some BS because he's not going to show up. Look, you want to be successful in this industry, you got to show up. Okay? If you can't do that, find something else to do. Go be a Walmart greeter. Okay? Go work at Walmart. And then if you're late for work, they really won't care because all you were going to do is stand there and go, hello, at the front door. Okay? So it's not that big of a deal if you're late. Trucking industry, no. You got to be on time. A few years ago, I fired my youngest stepson. He was late to work. I warned him. He was late a second time. I pulled him aside and I said, Junior, this isn't acceptable. You got to get here on time. If you can't get here on time, I'm going to find somebody else that can. Your job is in jeopardy here. Do you understand? Yeah. 10 days later, he overslept again. Fired him. Actually, I had Pat do it because he was working under Pat. What do you suppose my conversation was like with my wife that night? Very short. You fired Junior? Yep. What's for dinner? I ain't even going to talk about it, okay? You can't show up for work, you get fired. So, if I got a customer and I tell my customer, I'm going to have a truck for you at 8 o'clock with an instructor, it damn well better be there. Because if it ain't, my customer's mad at me. If my customers are mad at me, what happens to my business? It goes in the toilet. See, now the same thing happens in the trucking industry. If I tell somebody I'm going to pick up this air compressor at 8 o'clock in the morning, I better have a truck there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, if the weather's bad, that's okay. If the truck broke down, we'll deal with that. If the road's closed, we'll deal with that. But that driver better have showed up on time to start his day. Because if he can't show up on time, then I can't pick up my customer's stuff, then that business goes in the toilet. Right? So what I'm expecting you to do is the exact same thing that the industry is going to expect you to do. Show up. If you can't show up, then call and we'll figure out a solution to that. As long as you do that, we're going to get along really, really good. Okay? I'm going to have your back. I'm going to help you through this process. Follow our instructions. Now, as an analogy, think of us as your Himalayan mountain guides. We're going up the mountain together. And I'm going to guide you up that mountain. Okay? I know the path up the mountain. So I'm going to guide you, and I'm also going to have a rope that's attached to me and attached to you. You are tethered so that if you fall, I got you. Right? Now, if you say to me, as we're going up the path, and I go, here's the path, if you say to me, well, I don't want to go that way, I want to go over this way. I'm going to say, okay, and then what am I going to do with the rope? I'm going to unhook it. There you go.
Good luck to you.
Good luck to you. Okay? You get that? If you want our help, follow our guidance. Show up when we tell you to show up. Call us if you can't, and we'll get along great. Okay? Simple as that. There are people that don't understand that the way this industry works is you've got a commitment to show up. And if you can't do that, the industry is going to kick you out, chew you up, and spit you out right away. Okay? One of the things that I am very proud of about this industry is how this industry does not care about your age, your gender, the ethnicity, the color of your skin, religion. They don't care about any of that. I got success story after success story after success story. In the United States, women still make less than men on average. Okay? That's not true in this industry. And here's an example of that. Linda Pilmani. Linda went through here several years ago. She had gone through a divorce. They had sold the house. She took whatever she wanted to keep, put it in a storage locker. Linda lived in her truck for 2.5 years. What happened to her bank account over 2.5 years? What happened to her credit rating? Grew. Was she dependent upon a man financially anymore? Nope. The color of your skin affects wages in this country. People of color, on average, make less than Caucasians. Not in this industry. This industry doesn't care about that. This industry cares about your work ethic, how hard you work, your ability to show up and do the job. Every single person in this room will get the exact same amount of pay for the exact same work. Screw off, goof off, you won't make crap. Work your butts off, and you'll make good money. It's as simple as that. There's no white privilege in the trucking industry. There's no advantage to being white in the trucking industry. If you work in the financial industry, there probably is. Right? I mean, I know of a friend of mine who's kind of progressing in the financial industry, and the job he's got is because of who he went to high school with, and he knows how to play golf. And this guy, he works for this finance, sells annuities. And honest to God, this company has him fly around to different places around the country to play golf with clients. That's not this industry. This industry, all they care about is how well you do your job. Okay? They don't care about your age. I'm 68 years old. I can get a job driving a truck today making 75 grand a year. Right now today. 75-year-old computer technicians can't do that. 75-year-old machinists, a 68-year-old machinist, I should say. So, I'm very proud of this industry. And it's an industry that rewards people for hard work. And I got no problem with that because I love work. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm very proud of what I do. And I work a lot. And my wife gets that. If at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night the truck breaks down, who do you suppose gets the phone call? So who's coming back here? Me. Okay? But I took that commitment on. I took that responsibility on because I own the business. Keep that in mind if you're going to be an owner-operator, people. If you're going to be an owner-operator, you're taking on a lot of responsibility. If you're a company driver and the truck breaks down, who fixes it? Not you. And if you're working for a big outfit, what are they going to do? If your truck breaks down, what are they going to do? Give you another truck, right? If you're an owner-operator and your truck breaks down, then what are you doing? You're fixing it, or you're waiting while it gets fixed, and you're the one paying the bill, all right? Do you have any idea how expensive it can be to maintain and repair these trucks? I bought a truck earlier this year with not that many miles on it, and I've spent 60% of what that truck cost me I've spent in repairs since I bought it. About 20 grand.
This ain't part of the trailer, this the truck.
Just the truck. Yeah, that's the truck. Motor stuff. Turbocharger went out, some other stuff, yada yada. Not a cheap proposition, okay? So you become an owner-operator, man, you're taking on a whole bunch of responsibility, okay? And you better be willing and able to do that. Otherwise, drive a company truck, man. Life is pretty sweet. Tell you what, my last driving job, I was driving for Penske Logistics. I was delivering paper around town, working evenings, worked 8 o'clock at night till 2, 3 in the morning. God, I love that job. Man, it was a great job. I love the people I was working with, good equipment. I was loading and unloading my trucks, so I got some exercise. I really, really, really liked that job. The paper company we were contracted to got bought out by another paper company. That's why I lost the job. Then I ended up taking a dispatch position. I stayed with Penske as a dispatcher on a Kmart account, and that's what I was doing when I started this in 1998. Dispatching. Started this part-time. I was still teaching driver's ed for high school kids. I've been doing that for many years. I've always, my whole life, I've always been working 2-3 jobs. Always been working, 70, 80 hours a week has been normal for me. Been doing it all my life. Don't know how to do it any different. Okay, just don't know how. So this industry works out really well for me. I love this industry. I'm proud to be in this industry. The industry's been very good to me, but it's for hard-working people. So if you're willing to do that, then you're going to be successful. Okay. All right, we take a break every hour. Let's take a break for 10 minutes. Come back, and then we'll talk a little bit more about how the training process works. See you in 10 minutes.
class. No. Oh, I hate, you know. Yeah. This is how you come. Last time we like, yeah, now it's like many schools are hiring. Oh, okay. Yeah. I want to do something else. Yeah. So you was driving, you said a van? Just a van? Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Not a yellow bus? No yellow bus. But that company is a little company. Oh, okay. And then I have the buses. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. So, how much you want to pay here? For me? Yeah. How much you pay for that class? You get 6,000. Oh, you pay 6,000? You pay what? I have paid 6,000. Are you saying? Yeah. What about you? And they want to pay for you? Yeah. Alright? Yeah.
Really fun. Wasn't that fun? Yep. Yes. There was only two left. Yeah, that's the first one.
Like, oh, that's good. So that's healthy. Yeah, you pay. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I pay. You do that on the house? No, I don't do. I don't do that. No, no. I don't need to ask. Okay. That's maybe no. You pay one thing for you? Yeah. You can't stay. Oh, really? Yeah. It's not it's not good. They have like pay you for your then you need I can take cash. Yeah. Just contact the store. Oh, it's okay. No, that's okay. Maybe I may know one of them. No, no, I quit because I'm working. Last time school is off, closed. Yeah, no, I quit because I decided to move to another city. I am working, I got another job. I sell cars.
Vikings play on Sunday.
I have a dealership. So I sell cars. I am a manager of
Monday.
Oh, Pakistan. Yeah, Pakistan manager. Now you still work?
Students are not allowed to use up 24 hours.
Yeah, I work 5 days, like 35 hours. Huh? No, I just manage. Oh my. I manage. You know the Frank? No. Yeah, I work in Minneapolis. The Frank in the Quad. But I work in the new one, that friendship store. You pick that one? No. They are same. Same company. Same. Okay. Yeah, because there's a creamery and there's the Frankie Quad. I know the Frankie. Yeah. So I work in the same. I used to train there over there, and then I moved to a new one. So what are you working there? I work. Overnight? I got 2 days out. Tuesday and Wednesday. Oh, well, we have only 2 days. 2 days out. I got Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 5 days. 5 days. 5 days. Monday. So if you follow this program, you can work. No, I do. I can come here. Like example, tomorrow I can come here. Thursday I start 4 p.m. to 11, so I can get up 1 hour early maybe. So yeah, I can come every day. Oh, I make my own schedule. Okay, you tell me. Yeah. Okay. And I need to come every day. Yeah, and I need to make money too. Because when I come here, it's okay. Yeah, actually, I have the money already. I already got 6,000. No problem. I have already. You pay already? Yeah. One time? One time, that's it. Okay. So I just need to come here to learn. You take classes. Yeah, man. Let me know for the cars, the same cars.
how long you plan for the students?
Huh?
How long?
Oh, just 1 year.
For 1 year experience.
Yeah.
So how much you pay?
It's not going to 18, 50.
You work for 1 year, still pay 18?
Yeah.
The minimum.
Any questions? All right. Now, we have, with all of our programs, a number of hours associated with the program. Okay? I wish I could erase that. The reason that we have numbers associated with the program is because both the state of Minnesota and the state of Wisconsin require us to do that. We're licensed in both states, and both states say to us that we have to submit our lesson plans to them so they know what we're doing. And we have to attribute a number of hours to it. Okay? Now, that has been how the industry functioned for many years. But now there's a new federal rule, and it's in this book. And this federal rule says that you have to train people on this, and this, and they have to demonstrate proficiency. And this new federal rule eliminates the hours. All right? So we're in a little bit of a transition here because we've aligned our training with the federal rule, but the state rules haven't changed yet. So we're kind of playing both ends towards the middle here. We still have a number of hours associated with each program. Don't worry about the number of hours, people. The only thing that counts is that you pass your test and get a license, right?
Yep.
So let's say you take our 200-hour program, but you don't pass your test. So now you got a piece of paper from us that says completed 200 hours of training. If you don't have a license, what good is that piece of paper? Nothing. It is useless piece of paper, right? Now, we have several different programs. Y'all are doing Class A, right? Who's doing it? So that means we've got, it starts at $3,000. So there's a $3,000 program, a $4,000, a $5,000, and a $6,000 program, right? The difference between them are automatic and manual. There's a $1,000 difference between automatic and manual. And then there's 2 levels of training. With the Class A program, all of you, everybody in this room, drives the exact same size truck for the test. This is the size of truck we use for the test. Okay? Automatic or manual, doesn't matter. This is the size truck we use for the test. Now, the reason that we don't use the big trucks for the test when you're taking your test and you're doing the backing, there's a limit from the front bumper to where you put the truck. There's two of the maneuvers have that limitation. So the longer the trailer, the less room you have to make the maneuver. If the maneuvers were set up so they measure the distance between the rear of the trailer and where you went, then I probably would use the longer trailers for the test.
What size are those trailers?
28 foot. Okay?
Smaller than
So this is going to be easy for you. All right? Now, when you're in what we call our basic program, I also like to call it our associate program, as soon as you have passed your test in this truck, you're done. Okay? If you're in the basic program, that's a $3,000 or $4,000 program. As soon as you pass your test, you're done. Here's your certificate, off you go. If you're in the 160 to 200 hour program, after you've passed your test, then you will also drive the bigger trucks. All right?
For how many hours?
So you're proficient with it. And so that's a really good question. How many hours are you going to drive these trucks until you get it?
And you have to go. You have to pass the test again with that.
No. You only have to pass the test with these guys.
Yeah.
Once you pass, now you're fully licensed.
Okay.
You're licensed to drive the big trucks.
Yeah.
Okay?
But that time you can only drive the smaller one. Yeah, I mean, so since you not get trained for the bigger one, you can only
If you're not paying for it,
yeah,
correct.
you can only drive the small one.
If you're not paying for the big truck, you don't drive the big truck. Right. So if you only pay for the hamburger, you only get a hamburger. You got to pay for the whole meal to get the french fries and the pop. Okay? It's the same thing. And as far as the number of hours, now, very rarely, but on occasion, we've had people that we have told them, you know what, this isn't for you. And we've told them that we don't think this is the right thing for you to do to be a truck driver. And we give them a refund and we say goodbye. We've had one guy recently who was really struggling with the test. He had failed 3 tests. And the last 2, the second and the third test, he failed for driving through red lights. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. That's not good. You know, part of it is my wife is out there driving around and I like her. Okay? So I don't want anybody going through a red light and killing my wife, or anybody else for that matter. So with that guy, what we told him was, come back in 6 months. Because I don't think his driving experience in a car is focused on safety enough. You know what? I never asked him that. That would be a really good question. But see, that comes up on the DOT physical. Yeah.
Well, some people can pass it because they know that the red's on top and the green's
Right.
on the bottom.
Right.
If they can't see it.
Right. But that's a part of the DOT physical, is that you can't be colorblind. Yeah.
Well, that's weird.
Now, how much training are we going to give you to pass this test? As much as it takes. Then, once you pass the test, if you're in the longer program, then you're going to spend time in this truck to get up to speed. Now, as an example, I had a customer I worked with this weekend. Based on where he's going to work and stuff, I spent 3 hours with him. He was driving fine. He was comfortable. He was done. He also spent some time in the simulator. Okay. So how many hours you're going to get? It's just whatever you need based on where you're going to work. All right. And as far as how many hours you get in these trucks, again, as long as you can drive reasonably safe, it shouldn't take more than 8-10 hours. There's a few people that need more than that. If somebody needs 20 hours worth of training in one of these trucks, I'd say they're not ready to drive a truck. Really shouldn't take that many hours, okay? Now, one of the things that you're going to do here is you're going to practice your backing out in the backing range. There's no limit to the number of hours we'll give you on that. We use simulators. We use simulators for helping you learn backing skills with trailers and also with shifting for the manual transmission. And again, no limit to the number of hours we'll give you on those sims. Now, these simulators are very powerful learning tools. I've heard comments from people, I didn't come here to play no video game. Well, let me tell you something. That's an $80,000 machine. It is not a video game. So you will offend me if you say that. All right? I will take offense at it. These simulators are very powerful machines to teach you muscle memory motor skills. I'm proud to be a truck driver. Here's the other thing I love to do. I race cars. I've been racing all my life, since I was 17 years old. And I still race. I'm still very competitive, very assertive out on the racetrack. As you can see here, I'm not afraid to rub fenders.
That's
In
good.
fact, yeah.
Wow.
In fact, there's one of my fenders right there. I rubbed so hard it rubbed off. Now, I'm a pretty competitive race car driver. I won a national points championship last year with my car. I'm leading the national points championship this year in my class. And guess how I prepare for racing? With a simulator. So I have my own personal simulator that I practice my racing with. And so when I tell you that these simulators work, I was on a simulator last night. I spent a half hour on a sim every day to get ready. I got a big race coming up in October out in California. So about 6 weeks from now. And so every night I go down in the simulator and I practice. And the beauty is the simulator I use, the racetrack that I'm going to, it's a very sophisticated simulator. They have like laser measured the track. So if there's a bump even on the straightaway, I feel it in the steering wheel. If I run over a curb, I feel it. Okay, the car goes up and down and bounces around and the steering wheel shakes and I feel all that in the steering wheel. So what that is, that's muscle memory, okay? And you and I learn muscle memory from repetition. What I'm doing right now, I'm walking up and down stairs, buttoning and unbuttoning a shirt and talking at the same time. How can I do that? Because I've done it so many times. If I were to put on a woman's shirt and try to button and unbutton as I walk up and down stairs, what would happen? I'd be struggling with it. Think about that, that's kind of good news. But anyway, muscle memory, repetition, practice, 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 okay? The things that I'm going to be giving you tomorrow, the materials to practice the test, all of these things that I give you to do are things that I do to achieve my successes. And I work hard at it. I don't, my experience of life is things don't come easy. They come through effort, time and effort, okay? These professional athletes, the Michael Jordans, the Tiger Woods, how did they do that? What Adrian Peterson did years ago after he got injured and he came back and he was MVP, how did he do that? These guys work really, really hard to achieve this physical success out on the playing fields, okay? They earn all that money. You know, a lot of people complain about how much these professional athletes make. Yeah, and they make ridiculous amounts of money, but how hard did they work to get there? And here's the answer, harder than the other guy. How many golf balls does Tiger Woods hit at 5 o'clock in the morning? Thousands, which is amazing because he's up till 3 o'clock in the morning. Your effort is going to pay off. So we have tools and resources here that you're going to be using to get yourself ready. We've got evaluation processes built into the system. And anytime you want an evaluation, anytime you want somebody to check you out as to where you're at, connect with Pat. The way you connect with Pat is you go up to the front counter and you tell the people behind the front counter, I want to talk to Pat. They have a little list. He's a busy guy. It might take a half hour, it might even take an hour waiting to get in to talk to Pat, okay? Same thing with me. I got an open door policy. I'm willing to sit down with every single one of you. Just let me know. I may not be able to do it right at that exact moment, but I'll find the time and we'll sit down and we'll chat. Had a conversation with a student this morning about where he wants to go to work. We talked about where he lives, what kind of work he wants to do, talked about the fact that he's a vet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, okay? So the way this is going to work, after these first 3 days, we've got all these materials for you. You will need to get your permit, and then you need the DOT physical. Now, the 2 I looked at already, those are federal. Who else had a physical?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah, I looked at yours. Yours is good. Yours is good. Who else had a physical? Do you have yours again now?
You check already.
You check it?
You have it.
I checked it. Okay. Did I check yours?
No, you didn't.
I should have brought my glasses.
Yeah,
One second.
next time. Come on.
Just 1 second.
Nah, see, I think yours is the state one.
Was it for Metro Transit?
Yeah.
You were a bus driver?
Yeah.
Then it's state.
Yeah, that's state. So you need to do one. So why did you put the bus
I was a supervisor with the light rail,
Yeah.
and I was tired of picking up the bodies.
Okay.
I have PTSD from the service and
Oh, so that doesn't help.
crashes and stuff.
I hear you. Well, rest assured, driving a truck safely is an easy thing to do. I'm not kidding you. This is driving truck safe is so simple and so easy. You just gotta be patient. That's all you gotta do. Just be patient. The technology is helping us too. There's all kinds of cool technology that is keeping us safe. Okay. So again, don't get caught up in how many hours you're here. As you check in with the ID badge, it's tracking your time, right? We really don't care about the amount of hours. We really don't. It's there because the states require us to put a number to that. What really counts here is you pass your test. If you wear an orange lanyard, that means you're in the more comprehensive program. That means you'll drive the bigger trucks. Now, when it's time to drive the big trucks, I'm going to ask you who you're going to go to work for and when you're going to go to work. I've had people say, well, I'm not going to work for 3 weeks yet. Well, then let's not finish. Huh? Yeah. Wait until the week before you go to work and then complete your training so that it's fresh. Make sense? Okay? Now, let's talk about manual versus automatic. All right? Which one's better? And my answer is going to be automatic. Well, why is that better? Well, let me explain why that's better. Two guys, you can drive a manual, you can drive only automatic. If you tested an automatic, you got to switch. They go to work at the same place. Which one of these two guys drives the brand new truck? Which one drives the old piece of crap? Now, here's what's going on, and I'm telling you this. Any truck built in the last 3 years, 98% of those trucks are automatic. They're actually auto shift. It's not an automatic, it's an auto shift. It's actually the same manual transmission, but it's shifted with electronic, computerized pneumatic controls. Okay? Same transmission. These two trucks, both those trucks have the exact same transmission, but this one's automatically shifted. That one's got the same transmission, but it's manually shifted. It's the same transmission. This one just has more parts to it and does the shifting for you. Okay? Now, the reason anything built in the last 3 years is auto shift is it gets better mileage when it's automated, and it emits fewer emissions, less pollutants in the air. Okay? And this was driven by government regulations. The government came along and said, the trucks, just like with our cars. I mean, the federal government has told auto manufacturers, you have to get better mileage. And there's a limit to how much you can pollute. Remember how much trouble Volkswagen got in trouble for polluting with their diesels? They claimed that they were meeting the federal standards, but they were actually cheating, and the federal government caught them, and they got in big trouble with the government. Well, the same thing is true with the big trucks. So the government has these rules as to what kind of mileage you're supposed to get, what kind of limits there is on the emissions that they pollute. And so to meet those standards, they've had to go to the automated transmission system, a computerized system. Now, the only downside to you or me with these trucks, if you put two trucks side by side, same motor, one auto shift, one manual shift, same load, and you start out at a traffic light, which one's going to accelerate quicker? The manual transmission. The computerized one's going to say, oh, no, 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 we're not doing that. Nope, nope, we're going to save some fuel. We're not going to speed up so damn fast. That's the only downside to an automatic transmission. It won't accelerate as quick as a manual. As a manual, you can, it's up to you how much you push on the throttle and how hard you run it up in RPM. Yes, sir.
Okay. For the automatic shift, is that just regular transmission like a regular car?
No, it's different than a car, and it's a push button, but you don't do this, and you don't have a clutch pedal.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
All right.
All you got is a gas and a brake.
Okay, and do trucks come with cruise control?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And the newer trucks come with adaptive cruise control. Anybody know what that is?
No.
You start to fall asleep or something?
No.
What's that?
Adaptive cruise control. You program your following distance. Set your cruise control. The cruise control maintains the following distance. If the car or truck in front of you slows down, your truck slows down. If the car in front of you stops, your truck will stop.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Real.
Oh, wow, wow.
I bought a car for my wife that's got that.
How much?
Well, it's not that expensive of a car. It's a Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross.
Oh, I see.
It's not a Mercedes or a Cadillac. It's really cool technology.
Very nice.
And now, you know, and I'm so happy my wife has actually embraced this and is using it. Because what it does is it keeps her at a safe following distance at all times, no matter what the speed of the traffic is. And so if the traffic speeds up, it'll go up to the maximum that she set the cruise at.
So for example, which track like stuff like that, when the car is front of it,
What?
which track stop?
Which?
When the car is in front?
So if you have an adaptive cruise control and the system is on, if the car in front of you stops, the truck will stop all by itself. Now, you shouldn't rely on that. But I've tested it and it works.
Okay.
I mean, I'm done. I just did it yesterday. I took my wife's car to this grocery store yesterday, and just for giggles, I tried it. Put it on, car ahead of me stopped, car stopped. It's pretty weird. Now, I had my foot over the brake, just in case, right? But it stopped all by itself. Yeah. It's amazing technology. Lane departure warnings. Have any of you got a car with that? If you drift out of your lane, little white lines or yellow lines.
Yeah, on the rear
If
view
you-
mirror.
Well, no, you're talking about blind spot warning.
Yeah.
I'm talking about lane departure. So you're driving down the road and you drift out of your lane. If you don't have your turn signal on, a system comes on and warns you. Tells you you're drifting out of your lane.
Hey, wake up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like a rumble strip. Okay?
They got that too?
They got that too.
And
Okay.
then where you hitting the bump, and now they don't do that. They do it when you hitting the bumps or just when you
No,
just swerving anyway.
this one. The lane departure system is watching the lines next to you
Oh.
and warning you if you go over the lines. Now, if you put your signal on, then it says it's okay to go over the line, because that means you're making a lane change. But if you didn't have your signal on, you go over the lines, the system goes, "Hey, wake up!"
That's a
Beep,
button.
beep, 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 beep,
Is that a
beep.
button you could turn on?
No, it's in the system. You don't turn it on or off.
Oh.
The thing's in there.
Oh, that's what's up.
All kinds of cool technology. Okay?
For automatic, right?
Huh?
I said for automatic, that's the old technology has.
Well, these systems I'm talking about. You can use manual or automatic. Okay.
New one.
All right. Now, when you test, we have these trucks in both automatic and manuals. Your choice. If you do it in manual, it's $1,000 more. Why? Because it takes more training and more maintenance and repairs to the manual transmission. Okay? So it costs us more money to do it with a manual, so we charge you more money. If we're up to me, I'd say don't do the manual. I'd do the automatic. Now, it depends where you're going to go to work, too. We've got to factor that in. I'll explain that in a second. Right? Now, here's some good news. The manual transmissions in these trucks are 6-speed synchronized transmissions. What that means is they shift the exact same way that a car pickup truck does. Now, the bigger trucks, the transmissions are different. They're what we call non-synchronized transmissions, and it takes a lot more skill to shift them suckers. And if you're going to do that, you're going to need to spend more time in a simulator. Now, if you're going to test in a manual, the first thing we're going to do is put you on a simulator and practice your shifting on the simulator. All right? Then you're going to go on a driving lesson with an instructor, and the instructors are reporting back to Pat. This guy's good, he's ready to go. Or this guy needs some practice. Or this guy needs a lot of practice. Or this guy needs a lot of help. Okay? So Pat gets this feedback from the instructor. That lets him know what to do with you next. Right? If you're good to go, let's go test. If you need more time in the simulator, you need more time in the simulator. Got that? All right. So the trucks that we test with, test with that truck, you'll have an unrestricted license. But you're not going to know how to drive the big trucks yet. That's what another thing that the comprehensive program is going to do for you is teach you how to drive these manual transmissions. So when you're doing the longer program, you'll spend some time in the simulator learning that, and then you go out in the trucks with the manual transmissions and drive those. All right? Now here again, there's $1,000 of difference because of the, again, we're going to spend more time on you if you're doing the manual transmission, and there's more repair costs that have to be addressed. All right? Now, if you're struggling with the manual transmission, and drivers, when you take your test, they're very picky about how you shift. No one sitting in this room knows how to shift properly on that test. I don't care how well you can shift. You don't know how to shift the way they want you to yet. We have to teach you that.
Double shift.
No, you don't have to double clutch it.
No?
The things that come into play, first of all, 2 hands to the wheel. You cannot leave your hand on the shift bar.
What's that?
You can't shift from first to second, go to third, go to fourth. You will fail your test. Shift, back to wheel. Shift, back to wheel. Shift, back to wheel. Second, you got to downshift. You can't come off the freeway in 6th gear, come up to a traffic light, put the clutch in, and put it down in the second or first. You got to go 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay?
Okay.
And then thirdly, while you're turning, you can't shift while you're turning. And that means that truck and trailer is going to be completely straightened out before you start upshifting. That's the part of it that the tests that you guys have to take, I've taken those exact same tests. To be a licensed instructor, I had to take those tests. Okay? And that was the part of the test that I struggled with, was not shifting. And I was driving 10 speed on the test, so I'm shifting like crazy while I'm turning. So, here's the deal. When you take these driving lessons with us, the instructor is reporting back to Pat and letting Pat know how you're doing. All right? If you're struggling with the manual transmission during the test, then one of the things that we will suggest to you is, let's take the test in an automatic first. Pass it. Get your license. Excuse me. And then come back and retest to get the restriction report. Okay? How much will we charge you for that?
1,000.
Nothing extra.
As long as you work hard at it.
Right.
Oh, it's okay.
It's built into the $1,000 cost.
I see.
Okay? And that offer is good up to 2 years. You can do it next week, next month, or next year. Whatever works best for you. Yes.
How long do your CDLs last for?
Well, you renew them every 4 years.
You gotta take a road test?
Nope. renew it, just like a regular license.
Oh,
Pay
okay.
for it. You'll have to renew your physical every 2 years. And here's another thought. So let's say that you're going to work for somebody, let's say you do the manual transmission, but you're gonna go to work for somebody with an automatic. Let's say you go to work for Halver Lines. And so you're driving an automatic. And a year from now, you decide you're gonna quit Halver Lines and you're gonna go to work for a construction company. And they got manual transmission. If you've already paid for the manual transmission, come on back, we'll tune you up. How much will we charge? Nothing. It's good for 2 years. Okay? We'll put you on the simulator for 6, 8, 10 hours, then put you on the truck. No extra charge. Okay? Here's the deal. I want you all to be successful. If you're successful, Interstate Truck Driving School is successful. We belong to what's called the Commercial Vehicle Training Association. This is a training group out of Washington, D.C. And the president of this organization called me up about 14 months ago. He says, Bill, we did a survey asking trucking companies how long students coming out of truck driving school, how long they stay on the job. And according to this survey, our students were staying on the job longer than students from any other school in this organization. About 200 schools, right, around the country. I says, geez, Don, that's really good news, thanks. And then he says to me, so Bill, tell me, what's your secret? What are you doing? I said, well, let me think about that, Don, I'll tell you now. And I thought about it overnight, and I thought to myself, what the hell if I'm going to tell him? Because then he's going to tell all these other guys.
Yeah.
Right? But after giving it some thought, here's my conclusion. First of all, guys, I'm a truck driver. You know what? I've got a competitor in town, another truck driving school in town. It's owned by a finance guy. This guy wears a 3-piece suit. His office is over in this city, and the training is over in that city. What connection does he have with his customers? After he gets their money, none. Okay? I'm a truck driver. And I'm very involved in the training here. My intention is to get to know every single one of you as you go through this process. Okay? Wow. But see, that's just not my philosophy of how to have a successful truck driving school. I'm involved in training in the classroom. I'm involved in the trucks. I do driving lessons in the trucks. That's what I was doing yesterday. That's what I was doing Saturday. Sunday I was working on some other stuff. I mean, I'm involved on a day-to-day basis here, getting to know my customers with the intent of assisting them to be successful in this industry. I've been an over-the-road I've gone over the road with a team operation. I've been an owner-operator. I did that back in the 70s. That was the first thing I did in the industry. Made a lot of mistakes doing that. And then, as I mentioned to you, I was a local driver with Penske Logistics, delivering paper and printing companies, and then also a dispatcher with Penske Logistics on a Kmart account. In addition to that, I've done a lot of driver training over the years. I did a lot of high school driver ed. I taught cops how to drive squad cars. I did that full-time for 2 years, part-time for 6 years. So I've got an extensive background in training and also a very rounded experience in the trucking industry. Okay? And I have a passion for what I'm doing. That's why I'm here. Is that, you know, I had this vision of a truck driving school that was different than anybody else. And that's what initiated this process and brought me to where we are here today. We invent things here. We don't follow trends. Other people look at us and go, gee, I don't want it. Because we're inventing stuff, doing things that nobody's ever done before. And it all hinges on assisting you to be successful in this industry. I was in the grocery store last night, and I walked in, and right there at the front door, a guy looks at me and he goes, Bill, right? Yeah. Well, this guy went through here several years ago. And he was delivering to the grocery store. Okay? making good money, feeding his family, got a nice house, paying the mortgage, right? I suppose that makes me feel when I run into people like that. Damn good, okay? I get a big warm fuzzy out of that, right? And so that's what I get out of this, is assisting people. I want everybody in this country making $75,000 a year. Each one of you deserves to make that. Would you agree? A little louder. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, you do. And there shouldn't be any difference between the black guy and the white guy, or the man or the woman, should there?
No.
There should be no difference in how much money you get paid. All on your work ethic, and this industry will do that for you, okay? And so I take a lot of pride in that. So that's what we're doing, is we're creating an infrastructure to help people succeed. And that's what we get out of it. And all my staff, I mean, every person that works here, this is more than just a job. Okay? This isn't some warehouse where you put stuff on a shelf. Okay? There's more to it than that, and we get more out of it. It's a very rewarding experience to work with people and assist them through this process. So that's what we're doing here. That's our intent, to get you successful. As we go along here, as you drive these trucks, if you have any concerns, let us know. If you're struggling with anything, let us know. If you don't understand something, let us know. Okay? And then we'll figure out a way to assist you. We had a guy recently, as an example. He was talking like a forced whisper like this. He was talking like this. And we kept saying to him, you got to talk louder during the test. When you do the inspection, you got to talk louder than that. And he'd smile. Turned out he had a throat injury, had surgery. Okay? So now he's got a physical limitation. That makes him qualified for the American Disabilities Act. In other words, any government official has to accommodate that injury. Okay? So that means if the examiner can't understand him, the examiner has to take steps to make sure he can understand him. Get what I'm saying here? So we went to the examiner and told him ahead of time, this guy has a throat injury, his speech isn't that loud, you're going to have to figure out how to understand him. Okay. Now, if we hadn't reached out to the examiner ahead of time, the guy shows up, oh, well, here's your professor right here. The examiner might have thought, well, he went out and got drunk last night, that's why he can't talk. You know, he went to the Wild game, he got drunk, and he's yelling and screaming, and now he's hoarse. So screw him, he's going to fail today. See what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
So when we know that you got something going on, it's like Ray DeWitt I told you about. We identified what Ray's problem was, why he was failing the test. And then we worked with him as an individual to help him pass that test. Okay? I mean, that was, and you should have seen the smile on that guy's face after he passed his test. Holy smokes, you're thinking he won $1 million. Man, was he happy when he passed that test. So that's what we're here to do. That's the infrastructure we've got a lot laid out. And there's lots of options. We've even told people doing Class A, tell you what, why don't you do Class B? You know, that's another thing, is that most truck driving schools don't have Class B trucks. We have Class B trucks. Why? Because we want to be able to provide everybody an opportunity to make a decent living. And so if a Class A rig with a trailer behind you is too much, well, let's cut back then a little bit. Let's kick back a little bit, do the B. And if you pay for the A program, we'll do the B, come back anytime in 2 years, and we'll bump you back up and there's no extra charge. In the meantime, you're out there making a living, making a decent living, driving something that doesn't have a trailer. You'll get more acclimated, get more confidence in yourself, and then be able to handle the trailer. Make sense? So as we go along, we need feedback from you. We're going to give you feedback. You give us feedback. We arrive at an agreement as to a good plan. Pursue that. If it doesn't work, we'll reconnect, figure out a new plan, and keep charging up the hill. Okay? I want every single one of you to get your license. I can't promise you that because there's a rule that prohibits me from promising you that. And I also can't promise you as to when that's going to happen. I don't believe in pounding a square peg into a round hole. If it doesn't fit, I don't get out a bigger hammer and beat on it. Okay? If something doesn't fit, I'd take a step back and try to figure it out. Why doesn't this fit? What can we do to make it fit? And I look at alternatives and options and adapting to the situation. Make sense? A big part of that is to get feedback from y'all as to what you're experiencing. If it seems overwhelming at times, tomorrow I'm going to be laying a lot of information on you. I'm going to give you a workbook. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of things to do, okay? If it seems overwhelming, don't worry about it. Just take your time. And just say to yourself, you know what? I'm just going to keep working at this, right? And I promise you, it's there for all of you. In terms of backing up trailers, I want to do a little experiment here. Since you're all Class A drivers, I'm going to throw this to you once you catch it, okay? Here, catch that. It bounces, so used to it. And this proves something to me. Sorry? This proves to me that you, that's right, I got it. I'm ready. See, it bounces.
I was ready.
You were ready. It went right in your hands. It just bounced out.
I'm ready.
Now that proves something to me. That proves to me you have the hand-eye coordination, the psychomotor skills that it takes to back up a trailer. Okay? Now I can back up a trailer within an inch. What's the difference between your ability and mine? Practice. Experience. That's the only difference between us.
I have a question.
Yeah?
For example, if I take class A,
Yep.
so when I need class B,
Oh, you're grandfathered into B when you have an A.
no fee charge? Or?
No. You can drive a Class B when you have a Class A license.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The highest license you have, you can drive everything underneath that.
Oh, okay.
A is on top.
Yep, A is the top. So again, we're going to give you as much time as you need out on the backing range, practicing your backing, okay? Now, when you do this, I figure it costs me about $10 for every hour you're out there. Fuel, maintenance, etc. Okay? Now, if Pat came to me and he told me that there was a guy out there for 50 hours and he needed at least another 10, if not 20 hours, how do you suppose I'd feel about that guy?
Yeah.
Look for a different job.
Nope, I respect him. Because he's got the tenacity to succeed. You guys can learn these things. And how long is it going to take? Well, we don't know that. So how much time are we going to give you? As much as it takes, as much as you need. I've had people go out there for 50, 60, 70 hours. Now, some people can pick it. Who said they backed up trailers before? You guys will pick it up in a few hours. Be less than 10. That's fine. But if it takes you 50 or 60 or 70, that's okay too. I'm not giving up on you. I know you can do it. We just proved it in this room. By throwing you this little stress truck, and you're catching it, tells me you have the hand-eye coordination ability to learn how to be able to back up a truck and trailer, a trailer behind a truck, and all it takes is practice. And so what we're going to do, to that end, the simulators will help you with that. We'll give you instruction, and then we're going to let you go practice on the range by yourself with nobody holding your hand. Why do you suppose there's nobody telling you what to do on the backing range? Because you're not learning anything if somebody tells you what to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I could put blindfold on you, stand next to the truck, tell you what to do, and the truck will go exactly where I tell you to put it. Turn left, turn right, do this, do that. Truck goes exactly where I want it to go. I walk away. What have you learned? Nothing. The only thing you've learned is how to follow instructions, okay? So we give you as much time on the backing range as you need in order to get these skills down. I believe in tough love. I'm going to kick you out of the nest and I'm going to say, flat! Okay? We're going to give you the opportunity to learn these things through practice. And we're just asking you to follow our instructions, spend the time, keep your nose to the grindstone, and keep at it. You'll be fine. All right, time for another break. Let's take our break. Come back in 10 minutes.
That's the one you get at Class 8, you charge any. Not everything.
But some, I think some students, they're asking you to pay.
Oh, no, you are just the class 2 days. Passenger and school bus.
Oh, they take the time you
So,
yeah,
like,
you get that.
yeah, class 8.
it's set up, but I was just wondering, would it be like, you know, how you have a pay period or whatever? And then I don't want to pay too soon so it don't fall into it. I don't know my comment, but it'd be, what you need, what else? 612, 965, 386. J. 0221. Oh, okay, okay. Because I didn't want to. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. So I'm clear to make it. Okay, cool. All right, thank you. All right. Jamaica, yes. What is it? Oh, no, okay. You're ready for the Oh, no, no. So you want? No, I don't want to be okay. Yeah. Drop. No, that's different. Yeah. That one is. So because you really got that, do you think you mind you? The mic is there. You have answer? Yeah. Yeah. So you think again? Yeah, because it's control.
skills has, you have to get, we got this one already, right? DOT. You have to have that drug screen. This is a drug test they make you over there in customer service.
What drugs do you?
Yeah. Just go saying which one you need one of those.
So drugs do is different from this.
Yeah, it's like saying there's a drug screen and that DOT.
So you need to
So take this today.
pay into it.
Yeah, I pay.
How much?
Well, I'm like, so you're paying for everything, so they will charge me.
But he said you want to insure this one. He said it's okay.
I mean, you have already this one. Like for me, I have already. Yeah, as a teacher, you need to get this because they need this so you can drive. So I did already.
How do you do that?
I check your customer sales, everything. They need a driving school. So then they will need and then you need to send to the I don't know where other and then Thursday how you are with the drive and be small drive.
He says it's okay.
Maybe because you say you have to go through, they say yeah, you're right.
No, I say that.
But you say driving spin is different.
It's the same.
No, it's not different.
Any questions?
Yes. Got a question about the drug screen and DOT is different, right?
Yes, the drug screen and the DOT physical are two different things.
Yeah, so you already need the drug
So
screen.
I'm supposed to do for drug screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So we need a drug screen. Now, if you've only paid $500 for the class, we don't need the drug screen yet because you haven't paid for any driving yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
for DOT is not only is not okay. It's not okay.
What?
For DOT is physical. It's not all. No, it's not okay. Just I have for DOT now.
Yeah. I don't remember. Did I look at it?
Yeah.
What did I tell you?
Yeah, he's okay. He passed.
I told you it's okay. But you
he-
still have to do the drug screen.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
okay.
needs to do that drug.
Yep. So you just go to the front counter, tell them you want to take the drug screen, then you pee in a cup.
Okay.
Okay? We send it to the lab.
It's good, man.
Okay? All right. So let's talk a little bit about the physical. Again, we do have a doctor that comes here on Mondays to do that. He tests your vision, your blood pressure. Now he has you pee in a cup too, but he's looking for high blood sugar and blood in your urine. That's what he's looking for. The drug screen, they're looking for controlled substances, things you're not supposed to be using. Okay?
Plus opioids.
Pardon?
Plus opioids.
Yeah. Control. Isn't that a control?
No, like Percocet, they used to not test for Percocet and those prescribed drugs.
Right.
But now they do. But now you have to have a prescription. If you have a prescription, like I do because I tore my rotator cuff,
Right.
I will press hot for opioids.
Right.
For Percocet, but I have a prescription.
Right. But that's still a controlled substance.
Yeah, if
Right.
you don't have a prescription for it, yeah.
Well, but no, it's a controlled
It's a
substance.
controlled substance,
Yeah.
but
The blood and urine thing, I've always had a slight that, I mean, that doesn't exclude being normal.
No, and the doctor will talk to you about that, and if it's something he's concerned about, then he would have you get a clearance from your family doctor or something where there's. They just want to make sure you're healthy and you don't have any health issues going on.
And I take high blood pressure pills too. I just
So
bring
that'll
in-
knock you down to a 1 year
I mean, I
physical.
just bring in the list of stuff I have to take for that,
Yep.
and I've been on it for quite a while now, so.
Yep.
Back on all that stuff.
That's good. Okay. And again, same thing with the CPAP. They said they'll kick you down to a year. I actually do use a CPAP, but I don't have a prescription for it, so I'm still at 2 years. I do it to keep the wife happy. So again, the DOT physical is pretty simple. the important thing is you have to share that information with the state. So now when you go get your permit, you'll have to fill out the form. If you don't have the physical when you go there, that's fine, just check exempt. But at some point in time, you'll need to get it in order to take the training with us over in Wisconsin. Okay?
To get what?
To take training with us in Wisconsin,
I have to do what?
you have to have a physical.
Oh, yeah, I already scheduled mine for Monday.
Okay, then we're good. All right. The DOT drug screen, again, they're checking for controlled substances. Now, if you're on a prescription, don't worry about it. The way this works, it's really simple. So if something shows up in there, you're going to get a call from a doctor, not a clerk, not a technician, a doctor, because what's in your bloodstream is doctor-patient privileged information. So he calls you up, so that may very well happen in your case. You give him the prescription number for whatever you're taking. He calls Walgreens or CVS, whoever it is, verifies it, and then you're good to go. And your employer then gets a piece of paper that says you passed without disclosing what's in your bloodstream. That is doctor-patient privileged information. Okay? They're checking for, this all started back in the 80s because truck drivers were using speed diet pills to stay awake for long hours and driving. That's what started this. And initially, you ran a 50% chance of being tested once a year. And they've changed that now to a 25% chance because there's been very little abuse of controlled substances in the trucking industry in the last couple of decades. Okay, so that's good. You'll have to do it again at pre-employment. When you go to work for somebody, then you're subject to random testing, also subject to testing after an accident, and then what they call reasonable suspicion. If a supervisor witnesses behavior that indicates a controlled substance might be in play, then they can require you to take a drug screen. Okay. Remember that you can also be tested for alcohol. You're not to have any alcohol in your system when driving a commercial motor vehicle. Now, the legal level of intoxication, excuse me, is 0.04%. However, at 0.01, 02, or 03, you'll get kicked out of the truck. All right? You're not allowed to drink any alcohol 4 hours prior to driving a commercial motor vehicle. So bottom line, this is an industry for sober people. And what's interesting is what's going on with marijuana in our society right now. There's more and more acceptance of marijuana. I was up in Alaska recently and walking down the street, and here's a head shop, and they sell marijuana in there. Okay? Just walk in there and buy it. Walk out in the street and smoke it. Perfectly legal. Okay? But you're getting yourself involved in an industry that's regulated by the federal government. What's the federal government's attitude towards marijuana?
Zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance. Okay? So if you like smoking weed, learn how to play the steel drums, move to Key West, Florida. You'll have a great life. Okay? I'll come down and visit you in the wintertime, put money in your cup. Sit there on the beach and play the steel drums. Okay? But if you want to be a truck driver, you got to stay away from that stuff. In fact, I would suggest if you ever walked into a party or a concert and you smell marijuana, what should you do?
Walk out.
Turn around and walk out the door.
Too high a risk.
Yep, it's too high of a risk that secondhand marijuana smoke will get into your system and show up in a drug screen. Now, a lot of these companies are going to hair follicle testing. Why are they doing that?
It stays in your system, in your hair follicles for a year.
It stays in they can test you further back, test your behavior further back with that. Okay? So that's what they're doing. And to be honest with you, I don't know why they're doing it, but they are. Okay? So be forewarned of that. All right? You know, we have this driver shortage going on, and there are some in the industry that are thinking that maybe we should allow 18, 19, and 20-year-olds to drive big trucks. Well, my thought on that is they don't live a sober enough lifestyle to do this. I was watching the news about a year ago during the football season, and the local news guy was interviewing a Golden Gopher football player. And they were playing the next day, a home game at night. And the player was saying about how excited he was to be playing Saturday night because last Saturday they had an 11 o'clock in the morning game and nobody was there. Why is that?
They were drunk on Friday.
They were still hungover from Friday night, exactly. So they're in their dorm room sleeping, okay? But by 8 o'clock Saturday night, they're awake again, probably drunk again, but they're at the stadium having a good time. So I don't think that the young people have a sober enough lifestyle to fit into this industry. It really takes a sober person to be successful at this, okay? So I want to be
You got to
upfront.
be 21 to drive a big rig?
Pardon?
You got to be 21?
Well, if you're 18, 19, or 20, you can't cross state lines. So you could drive local, but you can't go across state lines. Okay? How old are you?
35.
Okay. I never would have guessed. You look young. All right. Now, these companies that are going to come in here, we try to keep you apprised of the schedule. So tomorrow, looking on the board back here, Schneider's going to be here at 10 o'clock. Again, they are a trailer load carrier. They're out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. They do a lot of dedicated stuff also. Then it looks like Maverick is going to be here at noon tomorrow. Maverick is a flatbed outfit out of Little Rock, Arkansas. So we talk a little funny. TMC is going to be here then on, that would be Thursday. And TMC is another flatbed operation. They're out of Des Moines, Iowa. On Friday the 7th, Holland's going to be here at 11. Now Holland, I believe, is an LTL, a less than trailer load carrier. So again, they pay by the hour, and that would be local work. DLI is going to be here next week. That's a logistics outfit. They're the ones that haul auto parts out of Hudson. They pay by the load, by the night. That's night work, working from like 10 at night till 8 or so in the morning. Halver Lines will be here next week on the 12th. What day of the week is that?
It's a Wednesday.
That's a Wednesday? Okay, so on that Wednesday, we have 3 carriers here. Halver at 10, Warner at 11, and Olson carriers at noon. Olson is the local outfit. And then on the 17th, Schneider will be back. Okay? Yes.
So you said they got the flatbed trailers. The flatbed trailers is different than
Yeah, that's a van trailer.
Yeah, so saying like riding different. Is there
No.
a difference?
It doesn't ride any different. No, it just means that there's no cover to it.
You know what I mean?
It's just flat.
Yeah, I know, but I was saying like when you're driving there's no difference.
No.
Okay.
Strapping down the load.
That's what's different.
Oh, just strapping down the load.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when these carriers come in here and they put all these numbers on the board, how much they pay per mile. So I got 6 numbers on the board: 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34. Where would you make more money? 24. Yeah. How's that? Because let me tell you this, guys. The 24-cent, see, it's all the number of miles you're going to get, right? How many miles are you going to get? That 24 cents a mile, that's going to be for a teen driver. And the way that works with teen drivers, you both get 24 cents a mile for every mile the truck moves. Okay? The 34 cent a mile, that's a solo driver. So,
If you want to be part of a team.
right. So this one is going to be a team operation. Here, this is team, and this is solo. Okay. Now that being said, how many miles are you going to get? And I'm going to suggest to you that these guys are going to get 6,000 to 7,000 miles in a week, and this guy's going to get 27 to 3,300 miles in a week. Now do the math. Okay. So if I take my handy dandy little calculator here, and I say 24 cents times 7,000, that's 1,680 bucks in a week. Is that enough? Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that pay the bills?
Yeah. I got a lot of expensive fees.
Well, see, here's the good news is you're working so damn much you don't have time to spend money, which is why I have to work so much.
Exactly.
Okay?
My question is though, because I've seen a lot of these, I've been looking through, you know, a lot of the companies that are hiring, like CR England.
Yeah. Yeah.
They want you to fly out there or drive out there, go through their 17-day class, and then sign a contract for a year. But you're with a person that you've never known before, and you're driving with them for the first 6 months. What if you just don't want to be with somebody, or be put in somebody in a truck? Well, you're sleeping, he's driving. How do you know what this guy's like? You know, I'm not going to put my life in the hands of somebody that.
Well, yeah, and so with what you're telling me, I wouldn't team drive.
Right.
Okay. So this is $1,022 a week, and this one, what I say, 1,600. So do you see how there's? You can't go by the number, the pay per mile. You got to figure out how many miles you're going to get.
Okay. Because I've seen a big difference, 49 cents to $1 a mile. That means.
I've never seen $1 a mile.
I just had looked at one that was.
Show me. I'd like to see that one. I'd sign up for that.
But it was. There's always a catch somewhere then, right?
Okay, so the one thing I want to bring to the table about this. Tell me how many hours you're willing to work a week, and that tells me how many thousands of dollars you're going to make in a year.
Well, how many hours can you drive in a day? 11.
11.
And then you have 10 hours of off time.
Correct. And we're going to talk about that in detail. Well, we're going to talk about it a little bit this afternoon. We'll talk a little bit about it more on Thursday. But yeah. You know, keep in mind this, there's a limit to the not only number of hours that you can drive in a given day, then there's also a limit over a 7 or 8 day period of time. And if you're a solo driver, I'd say 600 miles a day is your maximum. Okay, maybe more than that if you're running west, if your truck goes fast enough to do it. If you run east, it'll be less than that. So somewhere between 550 and 600 miles. So let's say 600 miles. But if you're going to run 600 miles a day, that's going to be a full 14-hour day because you're going to have 11 hours of driving. Plus, you got all the other things that you have to do during the day. Your inspections. I mean, you've got other things that you have to do during the day. You can't just drive. So you're going to have a 13, 14-hour day. Now, the rules allow you to work up to 84 hours a week. 84 hours a week. If you're working in the oil fields, you can work even more than that. Now, how much money are you going to make? It depends upon how many hours a week you work and what work you're willing to do. Do you suppose a guy working nights makes more than the guy working days? Yes. Does the guy that unloads his truck make more than the guy that doesn't unload his truck?
No.
Yes. So all of those things are going to factor into this. All right. Now, if you want to make the maximum amount of money, the most money I know of you can make as a driver out of school here is in a team. All right. You don't want to do a team. That's going to cut back on what you can make. But you can still make 70 grand a year. But you're going to work nights. You're going to unload the truck. Well, I don't want to work nights. I just want to work days. Okay, that's going to cut you down in pay. Well, I don't want to unload the truck. That'll cut you down even more. See where I'm going here?
Yeah.
So, are you willing to go away from home? How long are you willing to go out? The longer you go out, the more money you're going to make. I've got a student. It's a husband and wife team. Between the two of them, they're making 180 grand a year.
Wow.
Now they're gone 6 days, back for 1. Out 6, back 1. Okay? But they're making $180,000 a year, 90 grand a piece. 1,800 bucks a week each. Okay? And doing that right out of school within a few months of finishing school here. All right? But look how hard they're working to do it. Make sense? And let me tell you this, nobody is going to pay you more money for similar work. So it's the work that's going to dictate how much you make. If you're going to San Antonio, Texas and back with a dry van trailer, I don't care who you work for, they'll all pay the same dang thing. Okay? Nobody's going to pay you more money for doing the same thing that somebody else is doing. Why would they? How could they do that? The industry's too competitive. Does the truck cost one company more or less than another company? Does the trailer? Do the tires? Does the fuel? Well, why would they pay the driver anything different? And they don't. All right? So don't get caught up. What I suggest you do is figure out what you're willing to do and find a job that meets that. Work as hard as you can. Be the best doggone truck driver you can. And your career will go like this. Now, when I had those mileage numbers up on the board, or the pay per mile, and I had that question, you're the new guy. How many miles are you going to get? I mean, if the average is 2,500, let's say, where are you going to be?
No.
Now you got the right work ethic.
No.
Cindy Szymanski works for Wiseway. They're also in Hudson. Okay? And she went through here in June of 2016. She sent us a Facebook post in December of 2016 showing us that in November, so she'd been there, she started in June, so she was there July, August, September, October, November. The 5th month she was there, she had more miles than any other driver in her company. And it's a pretty decent sized company. I'm curious as to how many trucks they have. And again, these guys are over in Hudson. Okay, come on, computer, work with me here. It's not supposed to be doing that. Come on, computer, you can do it. I know you can. Well, that part of it's working. But it's doing that. Huh. What do I do to get out of this? I'm not sure. Well, I guess I can look them up later, but I'm curious as to how many trucks Wiseway has, because again, Cindy was at the top of the board right from the get-go. Okay?
After 5 months of driving?
Yes. And
she was willing to drive every day.
yes. And she's still there. And I actually offered her a job about 2 months ago, and she didn't want it because she's making so much money for Wiseway. Okay. Noah Carlson, one of our vet students, he's working for Schneider. I offered him a job about a year ago. He didn't take it. I've offered. I can't believe how many times I get turned down, and the problem is I don't pay enough. I only pay about 60 grand a year. Yeah.
So yeah,
That's all I pay.
like you see these ads here. This company is McLean.
Oh yeah.
$10,000 sign-on bonus, average pay 74, 1 a year.
No, that's team.
Is that team?
That's
Because it
team.
doesn't say anything about it as team.
Well, that's what it is.
Okay.
They're out of Northfield. Okay. They're delivering
Brooklyn Center, it says.
food to
That
convenience stores.
become part of our team.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of a sly way of doing it, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
You say when you start on, it's better to come with a team.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's how you can make the
lot of money.
maximum amount of money.
Okay.
Would be team driving. Okay? And you know, like the reservations that you expressed, that's why it's difficult for them to find people that'll do teams. Now, personally, I got no problem sleeping in a truck that's moving. But then it's a question is, do you trust the person driving? Okay? Now, if they had adaptive cruise control, I'd be fine. Because then they wouldn't be tailgating. Tailgating drives me crazy. When I'm riding with somebody, if they tailgate, oh man, that just drives me nuts. Okay?
They ain't got no incentive or nothing, or no agreement to sign or nothing.
Well, what do you mean?
For like 2 people riding in the truck. Like,
You make more money.
I know, but I'm just saying, ain't got no policy or nothing I can't sign in case you might risk my life or something.
Well, I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
Yeah.
Which is why we have the companies come here. So you can ask those questions to those companies. Okay? Because we don't want to serve as an intermediary. I don't know what those companies are doing. And if I knew what they were doing last month, they probably changed it by this month. So it's not appropriate for me to tell you what their policy is. Okay? So what I'm here to do is give you the general overview of what's going on in the industry. All right? And the thing that I want to emphasize, and I'm trying to get across to you here is, there's a lot of money to be made, but you're going to work your butt off to do it. If you want to make the maximum amount of money, go work in the oil fields. You'll work 100 to 120 hours a week, and you'll be living in a man camp. And there's women up there too. Okay? Now, I wouldn't do it. Okay? I would not do that. I'd do a team with my wife. I'd do a team with some of my buddies. I got a friend of mine that I'd team with in a heartbeat. He's the easiest guy in the world to get along with. He travels with me when I do my racing. And I'd do that in a heartbeat with him. Okay? But he's retired. He doesn't need to make any money. I wouldn't do a flatbed. That's too much work for me. I want some physical exercise. I like that. But those chains and those straps and them tarps are heavier than what I want to deal with. Okay? You young kids can get away with that. Okay? But me, it's too much work. So another thing that would enter into my decision as to who I go to work with, I'd want to know if pets were allowed.
Yeah,
My
I
wife-
see that on there a lot too, that a lot of them are allowing 30 pounds or 75 pound pets.
Right along.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll have to do a deposit. They might want you to do a $500 deposit for cleaning. Okay? But see, now that's something that down the road you become an owner-operator, and then it's up to you. Some refrigerated carriers don't want you to take pets into some of those facilities, but if you're dry van, owner-operator, nobody'll say a thing. A lot of drivers out there have dogs with them. One of the reasons for that, not only the companionship, but also since the dog has to be walked, that creates an opportunity to do what? Get some exercise. Okay. Some people do it for the safety part of it. to have a dog along. Okay. We got a good sized dog at home, and my wife likes that dog, especially since I do travel some. So when I'm away, she's got a nice big dog with a very loud bark that makes her feel more comfortable. Okay? So those are the kinds of things that you want to figure into the equation as to figure out where you want to go to work. And then work your tail off, be the best doggone truck driver you can be, and your career will go on a rise. I promise you that. I've got example after example after example I can give you. Swift is the Swift Knight combination is the largest company in the nation right now, and Swift has been big for many years. No, they don't. The recruiter is out of the Greenberry area, and we've tried to get it. He used to come in, and for some reason they haven't been sending him over here, and we're trying to get him to come here, and for whatever reason they don't. And I think part of it is that Swift actually has a school at their terminal here in Inwood Road. So I think they might get enough people out of that school that they don't need to come to a private school. The downside to doing that is then you're contracted
for a year or two.
Right. And if you leave,
That's
you
like
owe
that
them money.
CRA.
Right. And I wouldn't do the CRA.
I've heard horror stories. So.
Now, some of the horror stories that you hear out there are true. Some of them have been embellished. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. You know, you'll see a lot of complaints about Swift because they're so big, but we've had a lot of success stories at Swift. We've had people. And one of the benefits of a big company like that, and one of our students, Robert Ho, is an example of that. Robert went to work for Swift about 4 or 5 years ago. Was an over-the-road driver from the get-go. Then they brought him in as a local driver. He did that for a few months. Then they brought him in to like a middle management position where he also served as a on-call driver to fill in when people are sick and stuff. And then after about 2 years, after he'd been there 2 years, Swift got a contract out in Eagan with Coca-Cola, delivering trailer loads of Coca-Cola. This is Swift truck, Swift trailer, Swift driver. Hang on a second. Hey guys. Thank you. Swift trucks, Swift trailers, Swift drivers delivering trailer loads of Coca-Cola regionally. So Albert Lee, Rochester, Duluth, Fargo, etc. Robert works as the account manager at that Eagan plant. He's been with him about 26 months when he got that job. He's making 80-some grand a year. Now he's working still 70, 75 hours a week. He works 5 days a week, but he works long hours. He works 10, 12-hour days. Okay? But he's making pretty good dough, and he's going home every night. How'd you like that? Are you okay? Yeah. So just because you see a lot of complaints about a company, don't necessarily put any weight to that. Again, the advantage of a big company is that there's all kinds of different opportunities. Another example I have of one of our former instructors, Harold, he works for an outfit hauling hazardous construction materials. So this is like asbestos torn out of a building or railroad ties. You can't throw railroad ties away in a regular landfill, okay, because the creosote in them, it's hazardous material. And so what Harold does is he drives from here down to St. Louis. There's an incinerator down in St. Louis, apparently, that they can burn this stuff. So he goes, and this is a drop and hook thing. In other words, the trailer's all loaded. It's all tarped and ready to go. All he does is hook up to the trailer, right? He drives to St. Louis on Monday night, drives back on Tuesday, stays in his truck Monday night down there. Comes back here, he's home on Tuesday night. Goes back on Wednesday, stays in his truck Wednesday night, comes back on Thursday. And 1 week, that's all he does, 4 days. The next week, he'll go down on Monday, back on Tuesday, down on Wednesday, back on Thursday, down on Friday, back on Saturday. So he works 4 days, 6 days, 4 days, 6 days. And he's on a $78,000 a year salary. And he's got a medical package that is just awesome. Very minimal co-pays. The reason that they have such good benefits, medical benefits there, is because since they're hauling hazmat, they got to be real careful that none of their people are getting contaminated with anything. So he does a physical twice a year with them to make sure he's not getting anything in his bloodstream or anything. And he's got an awesome healthcare coverage. And that's why he went there, is that he wanted a good health. They had, healthcare package that was 10 times better than what we had. And that's why he left here and went to work for those guys. He's been with them several years. Really likes it. Another one of our former customers, he's an owner-operator with Kane hauling petroleum. I got so many success stories I can tell you, guy after guy, gal after gal, but these are people that work hard, willing to work long hours, understand the concept of yes sir. They don't whine, they don't complain, they deal with stuff.
Okay, can you put the hours, the cents and hours to me? See, I want to be a truck driver because like I can't do physical work like my brothers do, and my back is totally messed up nowadays. So I would like to know, I'm getting paid 24 cents for a mile. How much an hour is that going to be?
I don't know, but I gotta ask you something. If your back is bad, driving may not be the right thing for you. Driving a truck,
Lifting ain't the right thing.
huh?
Lifting stuff.
Okay, but just consider this. If you're going to be driving for several hours in a day, that's not necessarily a good thing for a back.
You figure it out.
Well, but the other thing I want to tell you is that if if an employer may be hesitant to hire you if you got a bad back.
Okay, so what about the physical?
Well, you'd be able to pass a physical, but if they know you have a bad back, they might be hesitant to hire you. So read between the lines there.
Like a physical, they got like a certain amount of pounds you can lift on the physical?
No, well, some companies do have a physical test, yeah. But not all companies do because it depends upon the job, right? You're going to have to stay away from any loading or unloading. That's going to cut your pay. You won't make as much as the guy that's willing to unload and load. But you can still find work, right? You're just going to make less money at it. That's all. It's that simple.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out how would you do it towards how much an hour would a person get paid, but y'all just doing it towards how much load you gonna have to drive.
Well, see, here's the problem with trying to figure that out. Okay, so to make it simple, let's say that you make 30 cents a mile, and you can go 60 miles in an hour. That's 18 bucks. Okay, but now there's a snowstorm, and now you're driving 30 miles an hour. Now you're making 9 bucks. And the truck breaks down. Now how much you making? So when you figure it per mile, there are so many things that factor into it that you probably won't be very happy with the answer.
On the change stuff.
Okay? Now, the thing you got to consider about when you work for people by the hour, normally when you work for someone by an hour, they put a limit to the number of hours you can work because they don't want to pay you overtime, right?
Yeah.
With the trucking industry, since they're paying you by the mile, they're not paying you any overtime. Therefore, they'll let you work as much as you want. So if you want to work 70 hours a week, they'll let you do it because you're not getting more per hour past that 40-hour mark. Whereas if you were an hourly employee, they would be controlling that. So I've got employees that work for me that are hourly, and I do put a limit on how many hours they can work. I mean, I don't want some guy coming in here that's getting paid hourly and he works 100 hours without telling me he's working 100 hours, right? I mean, that costs me a gazillion dollars. But if he's by the mile, it doesn't cost me any more for the 60th hour he worked versus the 6th hour he worked. It's the same per mile. It's not per hour. Yeah. So what working by the mile does for you is the employer is willing to let you work as much as you want to. And you can work up to 84 hours a week legally. 84 hours a week. If you do the math, You can work 84 hours a week. In the oil fields, you can work even more. The guys in the oil fields are making 120 grand a year. And they're starting out at $18.50 an hour. Now, how do you make $120,000 a year if your pay is $18.50? Because you're getting paid overtime after 40 hours. And they can work up to 100 hours or so. They can work more than a regular truck driver can because there are some special rules that were enacted on the federal level that allow them to do that. And that happened because the oil industry paid lobbyists to pay off the politicians. Serious. I mean, that's how that works. Okay? All right? So, again, I come back to figure out what kind of work you want to do. And then be the best that you can at that so as to achieve the optimum success for that type of work. So everybody in this room has got different priorities and parameters as to what you're willing to do or not want to do. Right? I want to work for somebody that'll let me take a pet with. So if pets are not allowed, I ain't working for that company. I don't care what they pay. I'm taking my dog with. Make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So that's how you make a decision. In your case, find something that doesn't require any loading or unloading. And I would talk to the major carriers about that. I talked to Schneider, Swift, Warner, Halber Lines. Those are the guys that you might also want to talk to Olson Carriers. They're a bulk carrier. They use like end dump trailers where they're dumping stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So everything's automated with them. They're going to be here on the 12th. So you might want to talk to them too. Okay. I'm willing to, remember, sit down and chat with any one of you as you go along through this process and have questions. But I would invite you to attend these sessions with these carriers. You know, another question to ask a carrier, how fast does your truck go? Because they're all governed. They have a top speed that's programmed into them. And how fast does the truck go? Does it go 62 or does it go 64? Does it go 66? How fast does the truck go? I mean, that makes a difference. That's 40, 50 miles a day difference in terms of how much money you make, right? 50 miles a day, that's $15. 250 days a year, that's $3,750 difference because it's 4 miles an hour difference in the truck. So that has a factor into it. So you want to meet with these people, ask them questions, get a feel for what they do, how they do it. Now, again, I suggest to you that nobody's going to pay you more money for the same work that somebody else does. And I'll also tell you this, when you go into a truck stop down the road, 6 months from now, you're a truck driver, right? And you pull into a truck stop with a big truck, you are going to get recruited. People are going to walk up to you and try to offer you a job. Now, they'll walk up to you and they'll say, hey, I got a job for you, $2,500 a week. Do you want it? What's your answer?
Sure.
He's lying to you.
Yes, let's do it.
He's lying to you. Now, why would somebody lie to you?
To get you to work.
And why would he do that? Why would that guy do that?
The trucking industry is low.
Maybe you need to work for the company.
Huh?
I don't know that answer.
He gets a referral.
Oh.
How much is the going rate for getting a driver to sign up? At least $2,000.
I see 7 to 10.
Yeah, I just seen him say
Oh.
$1,000.
Oh, wow.
So in other words,
Yeah.
if you convince him to go to work from the same place you're working, you make $2,000.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Now, do people lie over $2,000? Yeah. You're going to get lied to. Okay. You are going to get lied to in this industry. I guarantee you that. Okay? And again, this is because of this driver shortage, this huge demand for drivers. Because of the huge demand, the companies are paying big referral fees. And that's why somebody's out there in a truck stop trying to get you to go to work for them. And that's why they're lying to you. So don't buy that. Don't hesitate to do some research. Check them out. But nobody's going to pay you more money for doing the same thing that somebody else is going to do. Make sense? All right, so what I want to do now is I want to take a break for an hour, take a lunch break, come back, and we'll reconvene at 1 o'clock, okay? See if I can get this thing to...
How late are we going today? Did you say we were leaving early?
we should be able to get done by 3 or 3:30.
1 hour break.
Our stuff is okay here for the hour?
Yes.